Are you gonna when you talk about that game that you showed us? Are you gonna talk about that big Claire square?
Sure.
Okay, good.
Why?
Because I want to say something, but I
I've
didn't want
got
to
a
save it
joke
for the
prime.
show. Exactly. I didn't want to waste it in the free.
Now you can tell. Now I'll laugh again later. I'll be like,
I'm waiting.
ha ha ha
I'm
ha ha.
Yeah. Ha.
But I'll be bummed if you don't mention her.
Well, now you'll never know.
I know. Can't wait. I'll probably miss it.
I'll be like wrapping up, and you're like, "Isn't there someone named Claire? Tell me about her."
He's like, well, there's these squares. Yeah, one of them's name is Claire, right? Oh shit!
Right? Because I know somebody like that. I got a funny story about that. Hey everybody, welcome back to Signed In, episode 122. I am Jeremy Superpro 33.
I'm Craig Prof Dresser.
And I'm Shonick.
He's Prof Stresser. Is that more accurate now with school
Prof
coming back?
Dresser. Yes.
You're all back in, aren't you? Or did they start?
Sort of. I have
You're
one class
working now,
starting
right?
on Monday. Yeah, I've been working for a couple weeks now. But I have classes start on Monday. One of my classes, then my other two are the following week.
What's that have to do with video games?
Everything.
Because you won't be able to play anymore. Is that it? How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Good.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'm all right. We got lots of games to talk about.
We do have lots of games.
We don't have time for any of this shit.
No.
What are we
Actually
doing?
have some games.
A lot of games. It's over.
The drought is over.
I think I tweeted this last week. I'm like, so no games for like 3 months or 2 months, and then 4 big releases in a week.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Marketing departments are
Brilliant.
smart.
It's brilliant. Don't balance any of that shit. Kids are back in school. Give them games so they can escape from something. Right?
I need it.
What do you got?
I got a couple platformers from indie.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Both hack and slash platformers. And I played the good old Summer of Arcade samplings that they had. And some Saints Row 4.
Did you play some of that?
Speaking of the Summer of Arcade, I got worn down and I played Brothers, so we're going to do a flashback to Brothers.
I want to hear
no
more about
pun
it.
intended, actually.
Actually, we got a lot of feedback from folks about that game.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we were that negative about it. I felt like we were just kind of saying with a caveat of, it looked like it was great, but it looks like you need to play more of it, probably.
Well, yeah.
It was more against the trial than anything.
Because they didn't give you
demo,
enough.
Yeah, it was more against the demo than.
Because I got a lot of feedback saying that it was a great game, so I'm looking forward to hearing you talk more
Well, I think
about
people are trying to encourage us to actually bite the bullet and play it.
Maybe. I don't listen to them, though. I just...
You're just like...
Fail
you
on that
scan
one.
it. I'm like... This doesn't say I'm awesome. It must be negative.
No, they all do say that I'm awesome, though. But then, whatever.
When someone tells me I should
and then
try
you stop
it out,
reading.
Yeah. You should really check it out. No, you just put it on.
That's you.
That's the
not
list.
me.
That's the list. It just makes the list. I just move
you.
it over.
Of things you'll never play.
I'm going to start saying
got
that
an
for
awesome
games that you're
smartboard at
excited
home.
about.
Yeah.
Just to watch you conflicted.
Well, usually the games that I'm excited about, I shouldn't play anyway.
Well, I also checked out the Summer of Arcade stuff briefly, and I also have Saints Row 4, which I wish I was lying when I said that I don't remember anything about it, but I don't. So
2 weeks ago.
we'll do the best 3.
Yeah.
I think. Oof.
Yeah.
Well, we go to the start time.
I'll do the best I can. How about that?
Okay.
I played a lot of it,
not
so I'm
very
sure it'll
good.
come back when you guys are all talking
You
about
played
it.
more than I did.
I played a lot of it.
I don't
I
understand
played
how
a
you
lot.
put 7 more hours than I did into that game. I really don't understand.
I got everything.
I guess.
All right, and then I've been playing the Bureau XCOM Declassified this week as well, which I'll
Excellent.
talk about. So that's it for me.
I've got all that stuff. Maybe say a couple words about the latest Free for Gold offering, Dead Rising 2.
Yeah.
Not much. Don't worry.
That
Don't
reminds
worry, folks.
me. I got Rock Band 2.
You do have Rock Band
I'm going to
2.
mention that.
Rock Band 2, not Rock Band 3?
Oh, I'm sorry, 3.
Oh, okay.
Rock Band 3.
You're like, no, pure.
Wait, I got seen it box office. Never mind.
I wrote down in my notes, too. I'll read anything that's in front of me.
DLC wise, Mark of the Ninja had a DLC release to coincide with the special edition that just got released on PC at the same time.
Nice.
And then we did hear back from folks. Well, I do have Saints Row 4 as well.
Nice.
We did hear back from folks after last episode. I think three of them or something. So like half our listeners.
A couple more than that, I think. I don't remember.
I'm being facetious.
A third of our listeners.
No, I mean a couple more people we heard back from.
Yeah.
So over double our listeners.
I know. Practically all of them. We don't
Everybody
count us
let
and
us
our
know.
moms.
Everybody told us.
So I will be continuing some PC talk.
Yeah, it was all positive response, too.
Yes,
That's what we should say.
This episode, I'm going to talk about Thomas Was Alone.
Awesome.
People have been bugging me to play for a while, and I did.
And hopefully sometime soon in the future we'll be able to talk about Going Home, because I know Craig and I both want to play that.
I'm very excited for that. Yeah, it's...
Someday.
Yeah.
I need to verify if I can play it.
You probably can.
It's pretty low level, isn't it?
Well, it's I don't know.
I don't know what my graphics situation is on my computer.
Here's the thing about computer
graphics
games. You can adjust them. So
I know.
So if
I could go lower res, you mean?
Yeah.
I understand. But what I'm saying is I don't want to do that. I want to play it how it's supposed to be played. That's why I hate PC games.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to be able to buy it and put it in and play. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like a Game Boy.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly like a Game Boy.
All right, we don't have time for this shit. What are we doing? All right,
I don't know.
Let's start some indie games.
All right,
You guys go. I have nothing.
I'm going to start it off with a fairly recent release, Magicians and Looters from Morgopolis Studios. Sells for 80 Microsoft points. Give you a basic description. It's actually it's their description. It's a 2D action exploration platformer. So it does fall into that category. That common term of
Metroidvania.
You said it. So what's involved is a lot of exploring and revealing of a map. You know, you often find a lot of dead ends, and you got to look around to unlock new abilities, which then allow you to continue exploring and so on and so forth. And there's enemies around and all that. The demo was a little confusing for me in a couple aspects. Just one was new game wasn't an option.
Yeah.
You had to use continue.
Yeah, which
Really?
I actually backed out because I was like, I hit the button. I'm like, I just hit continue game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what am I continuing from?
So
then I backed out.
Now, it does say trial mode at the bottom, so maybe they have a preloaded, and that's what I'm not quite sure about. Maybe they have a preloaded game in there that kind of jumps you forward a little bit, because there's not a lot of story context at the very beginning either.
Yeah.
That was another slightly confusing aspect. So, and I haven't picked it up. I think I am going to pick it up.
Really?
I enjoyed this one.
Did you say how much it was?
80 points.
80 points.
Okay.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. I felt like I picked the female character.
You don't get to pick a character, do you?
No, you don't. That's off. I'm thinking of the other platformer. I had two platformers that I played.
I did find another character, but the demo ended right there.
But
my 8 minutes were up. I'm like, damn it.
I enjoyed it. I really liked you could use the bumper button to put the map over the screen, which was pretty nice.
Like an overlay?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
because you're revealing it as you're exploring.
Nice.
And I liked...
that's like that Metroidvania style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it just
I'll
had...
just say it again.
It wasn't that... At the time, it wasn't that linear, so it was just like things were blocking you off. But I thought... I really enjoyed it. The only problem I had, I found my character would kind of float a little bit. I don't know. It was just... It just felt like it just kind of was moving lightly. Like, I don't know. It was weird.
I know what you're talking about.
She was kind of hovering almost.
I know what you're talking about here. And this has to do kind of with the art and the animations, which I think are done really well.
Yes, agreed.
It has kind of a simplified pixel style to everything, but some really fluid animations that kind of ape realistic movement, like when she's moving around. And I think this is where the floatiness is that you're talking about. Like, if you're running forward and you kind of stop and turn around, then there's a little bit of as you would do if you're running really fast, you would kind of have to
do the Breakfast Club.
Basically, and kind of turn around. Interestingly, it reminds me of the animations from the original Flashback.
Correct. Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking when you were talking about it.
And the art style is actually kind of similar to that, too. Maybe not quite as simplified, rotoscopic.
Because it almost looks... I mean, that Flashback stuff almost looks like regular, real movement, but animated.
Yeah, exactly. Like
it's really natural
just
looking.
covered a picture with some pixels. And
Exactly.
from some film. And so I think that is where a little floatiness comes from. It's this sort of... fluid movement, and
natural body movement.
It does take a little while to get used to it, and I also kind of wish that there was a button to press to run instead of just kind of trotting for a little bit before she breaks into a sprint. But that's not a big deal. It wasn't a big deal for me. There is some craziness in store for the story, as there is a talking cat that you run into in the demo, who gives you your powers and stuff,
but doesn't tell you how to fight, because that's violent, and you can't learn how to. It was really weird. He's a very zen cat, and he ran away.
And so it feels like one of these weird worlds of discovery kind of games, which fits with that Metro. I can't say it.
Maybe
now.
you can't say it. Is that why you don't want to say it?
Metroidvania.
Yeah, it's all right, Craig.
I've been holding it in for so long.
Professor Stressor.
But yeah, it's kind of like Metroid in that sense, or Another World, to use a contemporary of Flashback, actually.
Yeah.
Where it's that kind of weird world where it's a little simplistic. Like, it's not like overloading you with tons of different things, and so you can kind of explore around and absorb one weird thing at a time.
The enemies are kind of cool too, because they had like these weird troll-like enemies, but then they had these ones that look really small. And then you hit them, and they drop whatever they're carrying.
Head pops off or something.
I don't know if it's their head. I think they have like it's like a rock or something.
Maybe
because when you hit them, the little tiny thing goes running. Goes running off.
But it didn't seem to have like a head. It looked like a neck or something.
So I don't know. And that's why it was a little. And some of the screenshots. The
screenshots really got me.
They look really good. The male character, I like the way his design was. The female, I just didn't understand. It was very like hot shorts and tank top. It was really weird.
What's not to understand?
I think they're going camping. She's not actually wearing a tank top. That took me, because it looks like she's wearing a swimsuit at first.
Yeah,
but it's kind of like a t-shirt with a jacket over it.
Oh, okay. All right.
But she's wearing
shorts over pants.
That sounds right.
No, they're cutoffs.
But yeah, I mean, it's got this verge of it being like she doesn't know if it's a dream or not, and there's all this kind of weird stuff going on.
Again, I feel like we kind of jumped in a little bit in the story, a little forward, not too far, but a little bit, so that it was a little hard to catch up. But the only thing that I was a little unsure about was the combat. The combat felt pretty limited.
Yeah.
There's basically just kind of an attack. You can duck and attack as well, and then there's a sprint backwards or a backdash button, much like what was that one? Castlevania, where you could backdash or something.
Yeah, you had to like back up. Yeah, you jump back.
Yeah, and
jump back.
But I hope that's one of the things that advances as you collect upgrades and stuff, which seems to make sense.
Sounds like there's a ton of it, a ton of stuff in there for $1.
Yeah,
it does. I'm looking
and,
forward to checking it out.
And it seems really well put together.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to pick it up.
Awesome.
I checked out The Last Fortune from Vile. It's 80 points. It's another hack and slash platformer done in more of the 8-bit style. And this one you do get to pick either it's a female character and she's like the daughter of like the head guy of this. They live in like a castle, all
the
that
king?
Kind of stuff.
King?
Well, not really. And that's the thing. She didn't call him a king.
Earl?
I think he's like the sheriff, or like
sheriff,
like the head knight guy.
Welcome to the sheriff's castle.
Well, it's a weird world. But like these guys stop by to like pick up some sugar or something. But
what is
they're
going
like
on?
If you need to stop in, come on in, and they're like, no, we're tearing this place down. So they tear it down, and then you have to fight these bad guys who I guess were part of your alliance or something.
I feel like you haven't done this story justice.
No, it's true.
They're tearing it down. They're like deconstructing it brick by brick.
No, it's the best part because they throw like this little like gray turd, and then the whole place blows up, and the guys fall down and they lose. And like you meet up with one of the either it's the daughters. I didn't say because it's like quick. I want to get through.
You're like
8 minutes.
Slapping that button. Go faster.
Man, and there's a lot of dialogue, and there's all the classic, and I'm just like, come on.
That's when you play it twice.
But they had the one guy looked like Sting from Dune, which I thought was really cool.
Okay.
But in 8-bit style,
yeah.
His hair was all like blonde, and he had a gray suit on with this like thing. It was pretty sweet. But it's just you have like a special power that you gain, like you'll pick them up through the game, because you're just fighting mostly like night guys. And it's just button smasher. I thought it was really good. It was the graphics were cool. It was just very lower Scott Pilgrim that kind of style. But these games both have two people in them, but they're only 1-player games. I was kind of upset about that.
Oh,
little
you can't do any co-op or anything?
Little 2-player local. Maybe not with the Magician and Looters, but definitely because there's a lot of map moving. But this Last Fortune. But I really liked it. There was this one time I picked up like 4 night guards, and they just ran in front of me with their spears out, and like they were dying, and I'm like, am I supposed to keep them alive? And I know, I'm getting out in front of them.
Standing there shrugging.
But I'm like fighting all these guys, and yeah, I liked it. It was really cool for 80 points. So
awesome.
it was too bad that magician. I mean, it's only $1. I should just buy them both.
You should. Well, that'd be $2.
I know.
Total.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
For 2 games.
I know.
Break the bank.
It's rough.
Almost can buy a soda.
I'll give you 50 cents, and then you're
Oh no.
quarter of the way there.
But I both were checking out.
Awesome.
Platformer wise.
Awesome. Move on to XBLA.
I think so.
All right, I'm going to take us back to last episode where we talked a little bit about Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. No.
I don't have to do that?
No.
All
No,
right.
in fact, I would encourage you.
I just did it. I did the hand motions, too.
I'm talking about for the
the
future.
squiggly lines.
You did, which was really effective on a podcast.
They probably could see it at home when
They could
heard
hear
me
the
do it.
whooshing of your fingers by the mic.
Anyway, sorry, Brothers.
A reminder, it's by Starbreeze Studios. It was 1,200 Microsoft points. And so I had a lot of people specifically sending me messages saying, you should really play this, you should really play this. No one really giving a lot of expression why I should play it. And I kind of understand that. I did play it, and I enjoyed it, to give you an idea there. But it's hard to review without taking something away from the experience because it is pretty short. It isn't like super challenging. It's not like a ton of puzzles or anything. It's largely just kind of, I mean, I hate to say it this way because a lot of people are going to see it negative, but it is a more passive kind of game. It's not entirely passive. You still have to do
It's more, I would
a bunch of
imagine
stuff.
it's more just experiencing the story
Yeah, it is.
and letting it play out.
It is story first.
Right.
It is a story first game. You do get much more used to the controls as you use them.
That's good to hear.
There were
Although, I don't know if I would, but you did, you mean.
There were points where you kind of had to be controlling both brothers into like doing different things, but it wasn't too bad. Basically, they were both kind of hanging, and then you had to like let one go so he could swing to another place, and that wasn't too bad. Left brain, right brain, because you only had to control one brother at a time.
Oh, yeah.
So you could just, as long as you remembered not to let go of anything for the other brother, it was fine. But and I kind of like that it's short and that it's not super challenging. It is story first. It allows you to kind of enjoy it and enjoy the visuals. Actually, interestingly, the biggest challenges in the game are the achievements, because none of the achievements are tied to the, straightforward gameplay. Like, there's not even an achievement for finishing the game. There's like 12 achievements, and they all have descriptions and titles. And if you read them, you have to kind of figure out, what you're going to have to do in the game world. And as you're going through it, you spot something. You're like, oh wait, that reminds me of that one achievement description, and you have to figure out. So then it's a little bit of a puzzle. It's like, what do I need to do for this? And they're all things that they're all, air quotes here, off the beaten path, but nothing is like super far away.
You're
from
not
other
running
things.
around all the
No,
stuff.
it's not like
all in the environment.
It's not like you have to creep through the woods for 12 minutes and then reach the secret point. It's usually right there next to the
Is
road.
it kind of the stuff, like the stuff where, even in the demo you ran through and there was people around that you could interact with, and then there was that section you got to and it had all those, were they rabbits or something down there?
That's one of the things tied to the achievements.
You went down there and there was nothing there, so I assumed that there was something there to do.
There was something there, yeah.
But that's what
but
I'm
nothing
saying.
triggered as you went
It wasn't
down
like
there.
you weren't supposed to move through that
Right.
path, but it was there, you could see it, and so I assumed that, well, obviously there's something to do with it.
And the brothers themselves didn't even really do anything
No.
significant when they were doing separate.
Okay.
Those are the sort of clues. There are some really cool ones I would love to talk about, but again, finding those things and interacting with them is really the crux of the game.
The experience, yeah.
And so I can't.
Yeah, I got you.
unless you guys are, solidly like, I'm never going to play this game. I might be able to tell you later, but I'm not going to do it on the show.
I don't want you to do it later either.
I didn't figure.
I would like to play it sometime. My only issue was the $15 for it, but
I understand.
you think that that's...
It's a pretty short game, probably. I finished it in a night.
Okay.
Like 3-4 hours, maybe tops. But I thought it was worth it.
But I'll pay $10, $12 to go see a 2-hour movie.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
I mean, of course, gamers need to be smart with their money and place money, on things that they think is going to give them the most entertainment out of it.
But you also need to put it in perspective of what else you do in life.
Right. But a higher price tag does not necessarily mean that it is not worth the value. Anyway,
Correct.
But that mileage will vary. I found the story itself to be actually really emotionally moving for me, and the gameplay to be...
Is that code for you cried?
A little bit.
Okay, good.
Nice.
A little bit. And the gameplay to be really smartly implemented. and actually wholly justified. I know you hate the controls and all that stuff, but it is actually, they couldn't do it any other way and still have it work with the story in the same way.
Nice.
It's not going to be for everyone, but if it's, if you're someone who really likes story, doesn't need to be racking up points or doing things necessarily every second of the game, then, and it sounds kind of appealing, I do recommend checking it out.
Awesome.
Bite the bullet on that 1,200 point price tag. Check it out. It is pretty rewarding, and I think it's a great addition to Summer of Arcade. I wish the demo had done it more justice.
Well, good. I'm glad. We heard back from, like you said, a number of people. You heard back people. I heard back directly from people. So I'm glad you were able to take a look at it.
Honestly, they took like the most sanitized, story-wise part of the entire game for that demo.
The most laid-back, passive part.
Yes, exactly. The thing that had no emotional attachment to anyone or anything in there.
Wow.
Try this out.
And maybe that was on purpose. Maybe they said, we don't want to give anything away. But at the same time, it did leave it kind of feeling bland. The full game, not bland.
Nice.
Cool. All right, should we move on in order? Do we want to go?
Sure.
So Charlie Murder.
Charlie Murder,
800 points from Ska Studios.
Correct.
And Microsoft. A beat 'em up.
Yep.
Side-scroller beat 'em up.
2D side-scrolling, what do we call it?
I guess so.
I mean, because it's like Double Dragon and,
You're a punk band.
those things. It's I like to categorize it as sort of the punk Scott Pilgrim versus the world.
That works.
Yeah.
I had a problem
if they had implemented the co-op right away while people were still playing it instead of 2 years later after everyone had shelved it.
I think that's a big key. Because I think it would be much more fun in multiplayer.
It does.
I played through the demo. We got a review copy, which you played.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to hear more about it.
I actually haven't finished it yet. I've got like 4 different games going on with people. That's the problem. And so, it's like
with the
jumping back and forth. Yeah.
So what? Tell me about it.
So
the full game.
There is quite a bit that's like Scott
I'd like
Pilgrim.
to know about it too.
Okay. There's quite a bit that's like Scott Pilgrim versus the World. There is actually a lot of people are making Castle Crashers comparisons as well, and I think that fits fairly well. But then there's even like more stuff heaped on top of it. And so, it's another game from Scott Studios, the same way they always are, where the individual elements are like, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. And then you put it all together, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess I like this.
And I guess that maybe is a testament to more of their total vision of, like, able to make a game enjoyable outside of, like, maybe, because I think graphically it's not the most appealing to you, right? Like, aesthetically?
To me, yes, yeah. I mean, it definitely is geared at a more specific audience, artistically.
Right.
But Scott Studios does a great job with gameplay and marries that to kind of a whole sense. And even though I'm not a fan of the individual art style itself, when you put it all together with the rest of the art and the backgrounds, it does work pretty well.
It's a total package.
It is. Yeah. And so, and like it contains like lots of little side references to games and movies. There's one part where you're ascending on these grappling hooks, and it's a reference to this terrible movie from a few years ago, Birdemic. Have you guys heard of this movie?
What the fuck? No.
It is a fucking it is maybe one of the worst films in the world, but it's hilarious.
Like
birds are attacking and like they explode and stuff like this.
I remember hearing about that.
It took we were playing. I was playing it multiplayer, and we're going up. And we're ascending, and then these eagles come at me, and they have these terrible animations. But it looks exactly like they did in the movie. And then,
they're purposefully
and then when you
terrible.
shoot them, they have a little explosion, and they shoot acid and stuff. And then I'm like, I think this is a Birdemic reference. And so it's stuff that it's goofy enough that you would probably be like, this is fucking weird as you're going up and laugh at it anyway.
Exactly.
But if you get those references, that's pretty cool as well. The game is batshit insane in a good way. It's the Dishwasher and its sequel, Vampire Smile. I wouldn't say that they were like super serious games. They took a bit of an over the top attitude, but at the same time, they kind of did it with that sort of straight faced approach. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, this is over the top, but we're not going to acknowledge that it's over the top. So.
Like they're just staring at you.
Yeah.
Like with like clown makeup.
No, but not winking. This is yeah, exactly. Which can be actually extra funny in there, but it gives it kind of a somber tone. It had a slight seriousness to the behind it. That was part of the humor, I think. And Charlie Murder is just fucking balls out. Everything is insane. I think when you start off, you're in hell. You're thrown into hell.
I checked out the demo. I didn't enjoy it a ton, and I think that the problem with it was that maybe it was just because it was so limited, or I needed to do more.
I don't know what the demo does.
Because jumping into the demo, I felt like they didn't give me any information, and I was having to figure out a lot of stuff on my own, which was rough when you're in the midst of like also beating everybody up and a bunch of stuff's happening, and button attacks and things like that I understood, but like the item system and like using power-ups and like equipping things, like none of that was explained that I could see anywhere.
It's not.
Is that the way in the regular game too?
It is largely the way it is.
I think
in the
it's just the
game.
beginning of the game that you play.
This
in the
is
demo.
one of I think I'm sure it probably is because it would fit pretty well with that. That is one of the shortcomings I see with the game, is that it's the way that it tries to help the player isn't quite as helpful as I think they thought it was going to be. And yes, you can largely figure stuff out on your own.
Yeah.
I had to rely on talking to people and stuff as well. It's like one of the achievements talks about picking up relics, and I'm like, what the fuck are relics? And then somebody pointed out to me, those are relics. And I'm like, oh, I've just been calling those accessories because, they had like a little ring symbol for them, and I'm like thinking of RPGs, those would be accessories.
Right.
And so it's like, there was no way I would figure out that those are the relics that I was looking for.
Because there is quite a bit of RPG element in there as well, with the items that you pick up and able to equip yourself and increase your abilities and different things like that. And resistances.
Oh, but, okay, I'll continue on my train of thought here with, because if you go to the how to play menu, like I often do on games where it doesn't feel like it's telling me enough of the buttons right away. It says, basically smash X and Y to do combos, and then read your emails to get the rest. And so a lot of stuff is taught to you when you get upgrades and new abilities and stuff. You get these emails. So there's a menu system that's connected to smartphones, basically, and so you have different apps that you press and they're connected to the directional pad. So if you press right, you'll open up your emails, which are explanatory things, basically telling you. And the problem is that they're really long things.
Yes.
And I'm kind of going faster than I thought I would be here, but this didn't quite. The smartphone thing was a pretty clever idea.
Yes.
But the implementation I found was a little clunky.
I agree with you.
I like things like if you're playing multiplayer, you can actually see other characters looking at their smartphone, so you know that okay, hold on, they're
cool.
checking their menus and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Which I thought was a pretty brilliant move. I find it clunky that you can't switch between the apps, just by pressing a directional button. I keep forgetting that because like right is to check your email, up is to check Quiddle, which is the Twitter thing, which is basically your experience points.
Which
tracker.
is also funny.
Yes, because you don't get experience points, you get extra followers online.
Right, and that your followers are your experience points.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is hilarious.
Yes. And then if you press left, that's your menu for controlling your stats and choosing new abilities. And if you press down is your smartphone cam, which you can use to take pictures of QR codes or other objects in the background to unlock items and or get extra followers or cash or something like that. And so if you want to switch, let's say I'm looking at my email and I want to check my points, I want to allocate some points, I can't just be like press right and then press left. I have to press right, then press right again to close the phone, then open it with left.
Oh, that's
and then
kind of annoying.
It's a small thing, but it ends up being kind of clunky because I always forget it.
Yeah.
And and
is it all in real time too? So like if you look at your phone, it doesn't.
It is in
pause
real
the
time.
Action.
Correct, and you cannot look at your phone while action's going on.
Okay.
And so it saves
well,
that.
if that's the case,
unless
then
your friends are punching you, because you can punch each other and damage each other.
Here's what my issue was with it as well, and that was the fact that it was so small.
Yes.
And I know there is a
even
zoom
when you
on
zoom,
it,
but
you zoom and it's hardly anything.
It's still pretty small.
So they really need, in my opinion, I wish that they would have put up like even half the screen. Like you could have seen, like it just blew it up.
Or turn it sideways.
And so my
or
concern
something.
was like if that happens during the action, obviously you can't do that because you would have that whole screen up in front of you, which I guess you should still be able to do it, in my opinion, because there's even those games that you can go into a menu and while live action is still happening and you can get affected, you just need to be smart about it. But especially now that I know that it's only when there's not action happening anyway, there's really no excuse for, in my opinion, that it doesn't just pop up in a bigger scale that you can see stuff.
Yeah.
Unless it's just a resolution issue, too, because I don't know how it looks.
It might be.
Maybe it would look crappy blown up or something.
It might be. I don't know. But yeah, that was one of the things that I was a little...
Yeah.
Not disappointed in. It wasn't like a major thing.
It just could be better.
But it was one of those things because you have to manage it frequently. Like you're using it a lot through the game. And so... it's like this tiny little bit every time, and it just starts to weigh up more. And
it could be a lot more convenient.
And I think, just kind of switching things up a little bit would be a lot more convenient.
Yeah.
It has a pretty good story too.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's told minimally. Like there's not a lot of plot description, and it's mostly done through like short animated sequences with maybe a few words, but. I think it works pretty well, and it evokes some empathy for some of the characters in there, and I thought it's probably my favorite story so far of the Ska Studios games.
All the punk band people? Because you're playing all, like, 4 characters, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And then there's other people as well. But you can actually unlock a multitude. There's, like, other...
so there's a ton of different characters you can play too?
It's like Castle Crashers, as you're unlocking characters.
Awesome.
Because there's, like, other dimension versions of your characters
That's
and stuff,
awesome.
and so you can switch between them. And so, you... always have a place to start off, if you have friends who want to start up a new game or whatever, and you'll end up with like 6 or 7 different characters at different levels. So
Nice.
you're
That's
jumping
great.
into a game. Now we did mention the RPG elements, and there's the leveling, there's the experience points, and some grinding for that, and then there's also loot dropping. Because you pick up, and I mentioned the relics before as accessories, but there's also hats and clothes and fist things.
Tattoos.
Well, tattoos are your magic
separate,
spells.
right?
Yeah. You have to go to a shop to buy those. When you can buy clothes and things there as well. Yeah, I don't think you ever find a tattoo dropped.
Okay.
They have to be put on you.
That would make more sense.
They're not temporary tattoos,
I'm not very
Jeremy.
smart, Craig.
That would be funny though. Temporary tattoo.
That would be kind of funny. Like you can use it once or something.
I was just more proud. I was like, I remember tattoos too.
You did. Good job. So it's kind of more like an action RPG, kind of like Torchlight or Deathspank, where there's shit falling all the time and you're grabbing it.
Yeah.
That led to part of my confusion, where I was like, okay, I'll just keep picking this shit up. I don't know how to do anything with it.
Yeah, I know, and that stuff is not really explained anywhere, although it is familiar to other games as well. But like with Deathspank, this was one of the shortcomings that I thought with Deathspank. It's maybe a little too much stuff.
Yeah.
Because you end up with tons of shit. Most of it's useless for you, so you just kind of have to haul it till you can sell it somewhere. Also, you're kind of in your quest to ever upgrade your equipment and increase your stats. You're constantly changing your clothes and stuff.
Yeah.
So, because what you're wearing reflects how the character looks in the game, and so. You might find an outfit and you're like, I look awesome. And then you're like, well, this thing is even more awesome, but I fucking look like a turd or something like that, when you wear it.
Yeah.
And so now with the clothes, the nice thing is, and thank you to Booth Dom who reminded me about this, is that you can actually make them invisible. So if you think something looks absolutely fucking terrible, you can go into the menu and press X on your equipped item, and it'll make it invisible so that you can't see it. Yeah, because there was one hat I was wearing. It was like an animal. Like I think it was called a slime hat, and so it was like just a beanie hat with like a little point on the top, and then it had a face on it. And I put it on, and Bhutan's like, "You're wearing a condom on your head."
Now, why wouldn't you want to do that though? Because that sounds hilarious.
Yeah, the humor wears off after a while.
They used to sell those condom hats back in the day.
But you
look like a bowler, but
remember
it was a condom.
Remember with Deathspank where I was like, I want to wear full outfits because it looks awesome, and so you know I would get new stuff, and I'm like, not putting this on, and I just haul around all this other junk because that's me. As we mentioned before, there's online co-op. It can be a lot of fun. One weird thing though, and I might be wrong, I've been asking everyone who plays the game to try and help me figure this out. So you have the Xbox Live online play, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you go in there, you have the options to look at your party. That doesn't automatically start a game with your party, though, which is kind of weird. But then you have public matches, there's quick match and then create a match, right?
Okay.
Okay, so if you go into create a match, you're going to create your own match, right? So then what kind of options do you think you get in create a match? Public match,
Public,
private match,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you expect to happen in a public match?
Everybody can join.
Okay, what do you expect to happen in a private match?
Only people you invite join.
Wrong. Public matches and private matches, as I can tell, are exactly the same. It doesn't bar any which isn't a huge big deal. It's not that I'm completely opposed to playing with other people. It's only a big deal when you want to have like 3 other people because it's got a max of 4 players.
So you
have to send the invite and pray that they get in there before some random dude jumps in because there's no way to drop somebody.
That doesn't
either.
make any sense.
It's bizarre. I think it's I think it's a bug.
It's gotta be
that I hope they put a patch into. It hasn't been a problem for me yet, but it is one of those potential things because I do have enough friends playing the game to be able to do a full match. And you can't invite people to play the game until you start the match, and then anybody doing a quick match
could jump in.
It's going to be jumping in.
Awesome. So did you have that happening?
I had people jumping in, yes, but luckily I never had one where I was trying to get 4 people. We did get 3 players going, and then some random dude, and he dropped out eventually.
Do you know what? If you get the random people just to join in, have you thought about sending a message that says GTFO?
I have not.
OMG.
I will take that into consideration, though.
OMG, GTFO, N00B. Try that.
Now, the whole thing can get... When you're playing multiplayer, however,
that's my tagline.
It can get super chaotic on the screen.
Yeah, I imagine. It's chaotic when I was just playing by myself.
Yeah, and with 4 players and...
Do they increase the number of bad guys?
I'm not sure. I haven't played enough single player wise. I don't think they do.
But it seems like there's a lot when you're fighting.
That's true.
Yeah. Thankfully, they put arrows above your head, so even if you can't see yourself in a mass of animated things going on, like I'll look for my color,
you at least know where you're
little
at.
triangle floating. I'm like, I'm there. I'm hoping I'm facing right because I'm trying to smash this zombie in the face.
Pushing buttons.
I am. Well, that's most of the game, and you can get away pretty well with that. There are team-up abilities. If you get a combo up to 20, then it unlocks a team-up ability, and you pull both triggers, and then it notifies everybody else that they can pull both triggers, and whoever pulls both triggers, they'll team up with you and do a special ability that your character has.
Oh, man.
And each one has a different
awesome.
one. Like the female character like does a little mosh pit, and like basically what happens is that the character who initiated the team up can control things and move around and kind of run into people to do damage, while the other person can just mash X and use their special attack, and it'll just like constantly go over and over and over again.
Awesome.
I don't personally care for the friendly fire, that there's friendly fire in the game.
Yeah.
And you can't disable that?
It doesn't. I didn't see anything that you could. Especially because
probably under
because there are no true private games, and so it's never really a huge problem. Although it does do damage to you, and so if somebody's being a dick, then you.
Oh, it's gonna be a huge problem if I'm playing.
Yeah.
Well, I was playing one game with Booth Dom, and then some other random guy was, and when he would get bored, his character could do like this backflop that would like shoot out a poison ring, and so he would do that and constantly knock us over, and I'm like, okay, this is getting every time that happened I'm like, we need to move on because he's getting bored.
How can you not kick players?
It might. I tend not to press the pause button because if you press the pause button, everybody's screen goes black.
Yeah.
But it says you have one option, and it's to leave. And so if you're smashing an A button or anything like that, then you're going to fucking leave accidentally.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I try to avoid throwing up the pause menu, and so it might happen. You might be able to kick players.
The person who set up the match better be able to kick players.
But one last thing, there is a variety of gameplay. It's mostly beat 'em up, but you'll get into different sections that ask you to do different things. Like there's some very basic rhythm sections where you,
I was wondering if they would go that
and it
route
depends.
at all.
It depends on the character you're playing. So if you like the rhythm sections, do not play the female character because she plays tambourine, and I fucking literally stood there for like 2 minutes while everybody else was playing. Banged the tambourine like 20 times and then stopped while she's just standing there grinning. I'm like, you are the stupidest fucking musician.
She screams good though.
She does. Well, but she doesn't get to do any of the singing.
Yeah.
I thought if you're playing with her, oh, well, maybe she'll be the front man instead of Charlie Murder or something. But nope.
What does she do in the band? Just tambourine?
Tambourine.
That's all she does in the
Fucking
band.
tambourine.
She doesn't play bass?
I think somebody said, maybe we should put a female character in after they had created everything else. And then they're like, oh,
But isn't there 4
something.
people?
There's 5 people in the band.
Oh, there's 5.
But you can play a max of 4
Damn it.
people at the same time. Yes.
Okay, so
Because they have the again, another thing that indicates that maybe they've kind of thought about that after the fact.
Yeah, because I thought about
she's rhythm and percussion. Then.
Because a lot of her moves are like Charlie Murder. Yeah. Because she does have those microphone screams for her magic and her anarchy
so she's
attacks.
Backup singer and tambourine player.
Yeah.
I think she's
backup screamer.
I think she's late edition.
Roadie.
Late edition.
We need to get this out.
We need a girl.
Which is unfortunate, but
yeah.
And there's gallery shooting sections where you'll be like on a vehicle and just constantly shooting.
Yeah.
And, some things to add variety. You may enjoy that, you may not enjoy that, but I found them pretty fun.
It seemed like in the demo play that I had, it was a lot more fun. It would be a lot more fun on a co-op level.
Yeah.
It was much like Castle Crashers that way, where it's like
exactly.
if I played with other people, I bet this is a blast. But by myself, I just feel like it's blah blah blah.
Right.
Yeah. When I first played it, I really didn't get into it at all, so I gave it a second shot, and it got me the second time. I don't know why. I don't know what. Maybe it was just the way I was feeling.
It might have been
playing
familiarity too, because one thing that might be a recommendation for it is to cut a few things out. It feels a little over bloated with things, especially with loot dropping constantly, and a lot of things not being explained. Like for example, if you beat some of the bosses, then like there's an organ you can collect from them that kind of floats there for a while. And it was explained to me that you're supposed to take a picture of that so that you can, or if you take a picture of it, you get a copy of the item, or you can punch it and it breaks into as many items as there are players. But some fucking player can just snatch them all up like lickety split or something. So it's better to try and get a snapshot.
Oh, those games.
But yeah, there's maybe
equal out.
It's maybe a little too much stuff in there. Yeah. I think they were very exuberant about it, and I admire it, and I like all the aspects of it. But if they had taken a few things out, I probably wouldn't have missed it.
Yeah. It's just so dense.
Mm-hmm. Yes, precisely. That's a good way to put it.
All right.
Flashback.
800 points.
I feel like we should have like a true radio sound there.
Flash.
800 points from Vector Cell and Ubisoft.
The makers of Amy.
Why are you trying to sync it already?
I'm not.
All right, so Flashback, which was, I believe, 92?
This was 1992? This is their 20-year anniversary.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, this would be...
93.
No, it was 92, I thought.
Well,
they're saying their 20-year anniversary.
All right.
It says 93 edition on it, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, the arcade machine in there.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So, regardless... Originally, I played on the Super Nintendo.
So you didn't? Oh, okay. So, that came later, didn't it?
I don't think so. I think it was all
because it was on Amiga
time.
at first.
I don't remember.
It was then ported.
All I know is I played it on Super Nintendo back in my day.
Okay, got it.
And loved it.
Yeah.
But I was a lot younger then.
Right.
So
now you sound like you're making it about something.
Well, I gotta still. No, but here's the thing. So I didn't. I'm also, revisionist history, rose-colored glasses, all of those things, right? So
those make you look like a hippie.
I boot up the game, right? And so maybe it wasn't as fun as I remember.
Yeah.
But I've looked at video stuff of it recently just to try and remember what it was all about, and I remember the game like it was yesterday. Like I remember all those aspects of it. That's why you were talking about that movement thing at the beginning.
Right, yeah.
And it's like it exactly reminded me of that, like the running stuff. And I really liked how the new updated one looked. I like it a lot, and I'm hearing bad things from it.
I like the look.
I'm hearing bad things from it. To me, I like the updated look. The platforming, I didn't have any issues with.
I thought that was good, but that's
really
pretty much
well
exactly the same as the original, the platform.
It is, but it is on much more lush environments.
Yes.
I mean, the graphic style is beautifully done.
Good.
Yeah.
I like the update to like any kind of the attacking, so you get your gun, and in the old game you could shoot forward, so it was...
You had like standing and ducking.
Exactly, so there was a lot of scenarios of where you would have like a mutant guy that you'd have to get through, so the puzzling became an issue of... It was much more of a puzzler, where it's like, okay, I got to drop down and duck down and shoot the guy really quick.
Yeah.
Now you have like full 360 movement of your gun with the right stick. So you can aim anywhere you want. It's much more the game I can't ever remember.
Shadow Complex.
Thank you.
Yes,
because it is 2.5 as well.
Yeah,
where,
that was me for all the listeners out there. That was Sean with
tip-in.
Thank you.
Sean with the tip-in. Thank you.
It was a setup though. It was totally set up from the beginning.
The crowd
of the
was wild.
I like the increased aiming and all that stuff. I did find that the enemies bum rush you pretty damn quickly, though.
Yeah, those flying
they're
things.
fucking on my ass. I'm like, back the fuck off.
Well, they have like an audio cue as well, so
Yeah,
that
they
helps
do.
at least.
Yeah.
because
They
you
do.
kind of know when they're coming. Because the
not when you
music
drop
hits.
in on a screen and they're right in front of you.
That
That's
doesn't
that,
help.
and
And
then
then
that
there-
cue
and then there's
pops
3
up.
of them.
The cue pops up, and you're like, "Whoa!"
But there's a lot of options to restore your health
are,
too,
yeah,
which
yeah,
is good.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
You know,
that's
because you
true.
do shoot those little flying probe things that come around,
Yeah.
and when they explode, they drop these little pellet things you can pick up and reclaim your health as well. So I played the demo. I think I'm going to buy the game because
Yeah.
I enjoyed what I had, but I saw people talking about it like being disappointed, and I was like, I didn't know what the disappointment was coming from.
I think part of it is that what they chose to update may not have coincided with what people might want. Like, it does have the gameplay is the same as the original, but maybe that was something that could be a little more fluid, even because it is a little solid. When,
you mean
when
like
you're trying
the
to
jumpy,
climb and
the stuttering
down.
step of jumping? And,
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of that.
It is still a little
I
goofy.
liked it. I
Yeah.
liked that
Oh, good.
aspect of it. I hated the dialogue and
Okay.
the fucking voice acting.
All right,
Okay.
I will give you this 100%.
Am I not crazy? Did he pronounce awesome sauce with an inflection that no natural human
Yes.
being has ever
Yes,
used?
because
it's like awesome sauce.
Yes, because I was talking.
I'm like, did you find some ragu on the ground or something?
I was talking to my wife while that he was talking or whatever,
Oh
because
my
the dialogue is so
fucking
terrible.
God,
Like the
it
voice
is
acting is really bad.
horrible.
And I heard just the tail end of it, and I'm like, did he just say awesome sauce? Because it
That's-
didn't sound anything like it.
And
Awesome sauce.
I was about. That was what I was going to ask you guys, because I got to that part and I was like, I didn't know what he said. I thought that's what he said.
That's what I was at.
But
I
I
turned the
wasn't.
subtitles on.
I wasn't
yeah.
sure if he said awesome and then something, because that's what it felt like. It was
Yeah.
just like awesome sauce.
Does it run subtitles naturally?
I
I
so.
think it does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember because I always turn
Because
subtitles
that's what it
on
was. I was
everything.
looking away from the screen,
Yeah, yeah.
and I heard it, and I'm like, did he just fucking say awesome? Because it didn't sound like it's like awesome and sauce.
It was weird.
What?
It was weird. It wasn't like not even happy at all. It was just awesome sauce.
It's like they had like a international team doing the voiceover,
Right.
and like they had no idea how to like say this word,
Yeah, exactly.
so it was read
It was
completely
so
wrong.
weird.
The read on it was bad.
Yeah.
I wonder if it happens multiple times.
God,
I hope
not.
So yeah, I'm not a
Lots
fan of the voice
one-liners
acting.
and stuff.
Not a
and-
fan of the voice acting at
Yeah,
all.
but
Yeah.
and because the dialogue isn't exactly the same as the original.
Well, no, there was
they-
no dialogue in the original. I mean,
Well,
there was text.
text. Yeah,
But that's one of the things is that you
But he
didn't
was
have
largely
the
silent in
You
the
didn't have
original,
the
yeah?
Spider-Man quips,
Yeah.
all over the
I
place.
don't think it's
so
necessary.
I don't
See,
think so
Again,
either.
this is what maybe some of the choices for things that they chose to update versus things that they chose not to update.
You don't have to update that.
Yeah,
I don't need to
exactly.
hear the guy like
Precisely.
commenting on this shit.
And from what I've read from some reviews, because I played it, I bounced off of it. It didn't really get me, but I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I started hearing that there was vitriol for it, and I'm like,
Right.
what the hell?
That's what I was saying.
And they do make changes to the plot too.
Okay.
Is something that I've heard, and so there's some people who are most vociferous about it
Yeah.
seems to be hating the plot changes. They thought they were kind of dumb or something.
It's a 20-year-old game. It's okay. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I can download the original for free.
You can get the original for free when you
on
buy that
PC.
game too.
Yeah, that's true.
It comes with the original version
Yeah, that's not free.
in the game.
That's $10.
Well, I know, but that's not all you're getting for $10.
you get the original for $10,
Sorry,
and then the new game.
I'm
for
not
free.
really attacking
There you go.
I'm not
You
really.
can get the original for $10 and the new game for free.
Yeah,
Sean
still,
just worked it
still
out.
not a better deal than getting the original game for free.
I know.
That one time I went to go
$6.
One time I went to go see Wild Wild West. I'm sorry. And
There's a
Wow, Wow,
giant
West.
mechanical
but it was
spider
like
in
you got to stay for a different movie that was free afterwards. I can't remember what it was, but
Congo.
But it was decent.
Oh,
no, it was
never
like,
mind.
I think it was like
Dumbo
an
Drop.
No, yes, and that was it.
Operation Dumbo Drop.
Yeah, you were there too, huh?
Yeah.
And so I kept telling myself that I paid for the other movie, and I saw Wild Wild West for free.
However you justify
No,
it, right? I think it.
I don't remember. Oh, it's because you were saying it's a 20-year-old game.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're doing an update, then that should not be the justification
I
for
know.
things.
I know. What I'm saying is, though, if you're doing an update
Yeah.
of a 20-year-old game and
Right.
it's getting a new face and everything,
Yeah.
maybe don't get so hung up on the fact that it needs to be 100% exactly the same story-wise. Like,
No.
let them go some other paths.
No,
Like-
I don't think it was because they changed things in general. Because
Are they changed for the stupid? Is that what the problem
I
is?
think
Okay.
that's what people were saying was
Okay.
that there is dumb things. Okay, I've got one loaded up, but I know you're going to freak out if I spoil something to you, which is too bad because I think you would even agree that that's kind of dumb.
That's kind of dumb. Here's maybe what the other problem is too. Is
So just read my mind, listeners. Okay, see, that's kind of dumb, right?
Done.
is he really a woman? Is he a transvestite? Is that what the secret is?
No.
That's his memory.
There's a crying game.
He remembers he doesn't have a penis.
Did I just ruin crying game?
This is a flash forward with is Chong sitting there, and it's never mind.
What?
Never
I don't
mind.
know. I don't know what's happening there. Do you want me to
Never
cut that
mind. Yeah, that's
That's not
great.
gonna
hit
get
the
cut.
floor on that one.
He doesn't do that.
That'll make our best of clip show.
Yeah. Chong.
What I was going to say is I do love that they include the old version of the game.
Yeah,
though. I think
thought
that's
that
an
was
awesome
pretty good.
bonus.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that's a problem, because what if you play the new version and then immediately probably going to go play the old version,
Right.
and then so they automatically force you to compare the two,
Right.
Because you were not going to be able to in your brain not separate it,
Right.
So even if you weren't super familiar with and had those rose-colored glasses of
Right.
the old game, you're now playing the old game and can look at it with fresh new eyes and compare the two. So that might not be
Who
the
knows?
wisest move.
Maybe there'll be some people who are like, "Oh, this old game sucks." Why?
It could be because
didn't they do it like
it's
the new
much
one?
harder.
Yeah,
It's much harder. I
Right.
remember like stressing out that game so much as a kid, like because it was this is a lot more movement as far as like a Castlevania game where you're kind of
Right.
going through the environment and it's moving and scrolling. But in the old game, it was basically one screen.
Yeah.
So you would have this screen, you would do whatever, you figure out what you need to do to get past that screen, you go into the next screen, and it would kind of be there.
Right.
And so it was almost like a puzzler
right.
in that
Well,
aspect.
And there were some people who were kind of disappointed that in this one they give you the whole map for the entire area and they outline the route that you're
Yeah.
supposed to go to things. So
They handhold you a little bit.
a lot of it.
A lot of it.
I thought that was a little. I was like, wow, that's because I was like, where do I go? And then I looked at the map. I'm like, never mind.
They also added those.
Sean mode.
Yeah, exactly.
And here's another thing where they updated that they maybe didn't need to, and it's going
Yeah.
back to that point, and that's the detective mode that they throw in with those molecular glasses that you get.
Oh, yeah.
Because you get these like glasses that you can turn on, and basically
For a short
it
time.
drains, but it fills back up pretty quickly. But it highlights everything in the environment that you
Right.
can interact with.
Yeah.
So I see that as being like that even takes another level of the puzzler out, because it kind of it gives you a big glowing spot for everything you need. They do put a limitation on it, but it is still pretty.
And there are collectibles.
Small limitation. Oh yeah,
At least
there
in the
were.
demo, there was the shooting of
things you
those
could
things
shoot,
that
yeah.
that were
Little
hiding.
Minox
Yeah.
or whatever
Yeah,
those things
something.
were.
Yeah.
But you could hardly see some of them sometimes. So it
That's why you
worked to
need
have
those molecular glasses.
Really? Because they were bright colored. In fact, before I got the gun, I think I was constantly trying to do something with them. I'm like, is that an object? I kept jumping at it. And
Well, they
stuff.
got to give you a couple to let you know that they're there.
Yeah, true.
Then they
They
hide
have
the
them,
others.
They have them hanging behind bush or
Yeah.
brush. I mean,
Yeah.
sorry,
That's all right.
hanging around bush. Funny.
I think that's a good point to end it. I plan on picking it up.
Okay,
I
good.
liked how it looked. I liked how it played.
I would like to
and
hear your interpretation or your impressions of the story, because some people are complaining about that, but
Again,
this is
I'm
this is a risk of nostalgia games, because differences sometimes people are going to bounce off those no matter what.
And I'm not
Yeah.
a historian on Flashback. Like, I remember playing
Weren't
it.
you just saying you remember it perfectly?
No. Here's the thing. I remember playing it when I was like 13,
Yeah,
right?
I'm
So
kidding.
and I loved it.
Yeah.
13. I would have been older than that.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
I was about to say because I graduated high school in '93.
Did I play it? Is it older than? No, because you just said it's 20-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Well,
How's
when it
that
first
right?
came out, I don't know when it came out on the Super Nintendo.
I thought it was around that time frame.
Maybe that's what it is because maybe I'm sure more people played it on the SNES than they did on the Amiga.
Probably.
And so it might be the 20th anniversary of the console release or
Maybe.
something.
I don't know.
Which would make your 92 work.
Yeah. Regardless,
Anyway.
93, I don't remember being that old when I played it, but
Yeah.
that's another thing where, because I'm old now,
Yeah.
so I don't remember being like 16, 17 when I played it, but I guess
I was breaking
I guess
into
I
the
was.
PlayStation that time. That's when I started. That was my first real console.
I know I played it and I loved it. So, but the thing is, I'm being able to play this one and not remember. I won't even be able to tell you what's different about it because I won't remember.
Yeah.
But anyway, so enough about Flashback.
There was
We'll talk about
robots,
it when I play
robots with jetpacks and trench coats, though.
it more. We'll talk about it when I play it more. Are we? Is that it for XBLA?
Yes. I got a little DLC.
Let's do it.
Loving.
DLC for an XBLA, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Awesome.
Mark of the Ninja got the special edition DLC. Mark of the Ninja from Clay, of course. The DLC cost 400 Microsoft points, about $5 US. And so this was released to coincide with the PC release of Mark of the Ninja because it was Xbox exclusive for a while. Because didn't it come out last summer of Arcade?
I believe that is correct.
I think that is right, last year. So,
and you liked it a lot.
I love it. I still love the game.
Was it 2 years ago? No, I don't remember.
It may have been, but I think it was last year.
Okay.
No, I don't think it was 2 years ago. Not 2 years seems like a long time to be on. Exclusive.
I'm trying to think back to
Xbox.
our best of show.
Anyway,
I think it was on there.
Regardless, I'm sure somebody listening knows it.
I'm sure everybody listening
signed in fact sheet out.
I'm sure everybody listening is like, move the fuck on.
So the DLC gives you one additional level using a different main character. It is a character from the actual game, but he's given. You're controlling him. It's sort of like a flashback to when he was younger and stuff. There's one additional what they call paths. And paths, if you're unfamiliar with the game, are basically sets of rules that you can set for yourself.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Or sort of modes. You can think of it that way.
Play styles, wasn't it?
Play styles, essentially, yeah. So this one, you don't have a sword, but you have a new non-lethal attack that can knock people out, and then like you can't use particular things. I don't know. I don't remember all the aspects of it. Here's the problem: it's a year after I played it, at least. And
so
I actually couldn't remember very well how to play the game. And so it was like, you can't use this and this. And I'm like, I don't even remember what those things do.
So I won't.
Exactly. I won't miss them at all.
No problem.
Yeah. And it also gives you 2 new items, one distraction item and one attack item, basically. The Dusk Moths, which are pretty neat because you can use them for 2 purposes. You can either throw them at lights, and they'll kind of block out the light. For a period of time, they'll eventually disperse. But it's a way to knock out lights without breaking them so that you don't attract... It's a silent way to black out lights for a short period. Or you can throw them directly at people, and then they'll kind of be confused, and they can't see what's happening, so you can sneak up on them or walk right up in front of them and punch them. And then there are also the infectious spores, which you throw those and it kills somebody immediately, and then they fall down. And the idea is that you want to do it in sort of the path of another guard or within sight of another guard, so that the other guard goes look at them. When they go to investigate them, then they get shot like with this jet of more infectious spores, and then they die as well. And then it kind of stops there. They're both very nice items to use for getting through Ironically, I wasn't paying attention to the fact that they're completely different kinds of items. One's for being stealthy, the other's for, especially when you're using that path where you don't have the sword, and the other's lethal. And so I'm like, I'll go through non-lethal because that is my favorite way to play as well. And then I'm like throwing infectious spores on people and killing them, and I'm like, whoops.
I guess I'm going to be lethal.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's one new level. It's pretty big. You can access it pretty easily from your game. It's separate from the main story, but adds some color to sort of the world that they have.
Cool.
There are a lot, it's like the rest of the game. There are lots of different paths. I, of course, was exploring everything and kind of creeping through everywhere I could go because it was a lot of fun to do that. It was very nice getting back into the game. Another thing that it adds is commentary from the developers. But these are not audio commentary like on the Portal games. They're text commentary. So you see a bubble floating around, you just kind of have to walk up and activate it, and then it'll pause the game and it'll bring up the text, and you can read the text. And apparently I think you can also read all of the commentary text just in the menu if you want. But it's more contextually appropriate.
Yeah, it'd be nicer to do it in the game.
Yeah, but the way that it disrupts the gameplay, I would encourage you, if you've never played through Mark of the Ninja before and you pick it up on PC or on Xbox, and you're playing through and you see the commentary, if it's your first time, I would recommend avoiding it because it really kind of interrupts the flow of things, and so there's an atmosphere and a sort of mentality that you need to play the game and really enjoy the game, and stopping every 2 seconds to read about how first I designed the general level and then we add platforms. It's kind of disruptive.
Let me get out of this and see if those spores work.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for describing how you drew the sky.
I think they should combine it with Charlie Murder, and he's just pulling out his smartphone waiting for something to happen, and he's just kind of
crouched down.
Are those guards back? Yeah. No,
has to take off his fucking gloves so he can move his scroll through his smartphone.
Exactly.
God damn it, I need to get some of those gloves.
Those gloves are awesome.
Now, you can also turn off all of the commentary, basically hide the bubbles if you want to, in the menu. So if you don't even want to see it, because it is kind of disruptive as well, as there's this word balloon floating in the middle of the air as you're trying to sneak past this dude so you can stab him in the back. I liked it a lot. I wish it had come sooner because, like I said, I had kind of forgotten how to play the game. And I'm kind of intrigued to go through the game with the commentary now, but at the same time, it's been so long that I'm like, well, maybe I should just play the game through, because I do have those new items and that new path, and so I can experience it in a slightly different way as well. But I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. If it had come sooner, I would have been.
Probably do nothing.
If it had come sooner, I probably would have been like, I'm going to play through the commentary, and then I'll play through again with the things. But now I'm like, oh,
it's been so long.
It's been so long. But it's very nice.
Awesome. Good. Speaking of a long time, I played some Rock Band 3. I don't have a lot to say about it, but here
how do you play it? What is it?
We've played a lot of Rock Band, and it might be in memoriam. I don't really know, because I'm kind of sad that they stopped doing songs. Yeah. And
Rocksmith is still coming out.
Shut up.
Okay, they stopped doing songs. I still see songs on the.
They still do the Rock Band Network, and that's what happens.
That
still continues.
Those are popping
I confirmed that those come up.
Okay,
I forgot that we talked about on the show that one time, and I did confirm after that those were the ones that were popping up.
Yeah.
So those
I don't
still
think they used to.
Those still pop up, and they probably do now because it's all they got.
Right.
So
they just use the main channel. Go
I'm
ahead.
still bummed that there's no more songs, and I hadn't thought about it in a while. But then we sat and played it, and I don't know. We just got in the mood. My wife and I played one night, and then I think we've played like for a week or
You've
more
been
now.
a lot,
we played like 3-4 hours a night sometimes. Like, it's been ridiculous.
That's
and
awesome.
It's been awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
because
a fun game.
I have so many fucking songs on there.
You do.
I mean, so I know
you're
people
never going to delete them to give yourself some more
no,
space.
not at all. I've got them on a separate stick.
Oh, that's
most
right.
of them. But I ran out of space on that. So there's actually some still on my hard drive too. But I don't know. We're up to like 700-800 songs or something crazy like that. But so it's just been fun to go through. But what it has made me remember is, I haven't talked about Animal Crossing in a while that I've been playing on the DS, 3DS. And one of my issues with that Animal Crossing was that it's been so many years since they've done so many iterations of that game, but they have not changed anything functionally on that game
pretty much,
to make it better.
Yeah.
Like, it's all functions the same.
Yeah.
And it's the same ridiculous limitations that don't need to be in there, but nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care.
Right.
I think of it as I'm playing it, how irritating it is. But then I think about like Rock Band and like how every iteration has like made things better.
Yeah.
And like were smart changes. And it's like the things that I forget about, like when you play multiplayer now on 3 and it keeps your score separate so that it has your separate player score. And that stuff is just brilliant. That's all.
Done.
I just think it's awesome. I think it's still a great game, and I love that they were doing that iterations of stuff.
I've been trying to unload a few things. And one of the things that always comes up is like those Rock Band instruments, because they've been sitting there unused for a long time. But it's always like, I could always just go back and play the game.
You could,
yeah.
Those drums take up a lot of space. But
I'm probably going to keep my 360. Even if I go to a next gen system.
Right.
And so while I'll play through, I'll complete all the games that I have eventually. And eventually they're going to stop making new games. That's one game that you can always return to.
I've also got a hoarder complex.
Or one set of games.
I've got a hoarder complex. So I just did a count in my head, and I think I have 5 guitars in my closet. There's 2 people in this house. You can only play with 2, but I have like 5 guitars in there, and I don't know if they even all work.
If you pick up Band Hero, then you can have a band of 5 guitars. That's what you're keeping it for, right?
A band of 5
That's what
guitars.
I'm doing. Yes, that's what I'm doing.
5 drums.
So anyway, we're gonna probably keep continuing to play because we're having fun with it.
That's awesome.
It's good times.
It's good when you can play games with your significant other.
It is.
Yep. Summer she wanted to play some You Don't Know Jack. I have to talk her into that. She'll play Seen It. Yeah. But I had to talk her to You Don't Know Jack, and the wrong answer the day it came up, and I knew it.
Yeah.
So I was like, pick that. And she's like, it came up wrong, and she's like, I go, I just got you 4,000 points. But I still killed her.
Well, yeah. Maybe that's why she doesn't like to play.
Well, she got upset that
talk like that?
I got 4,000 points. And I go, you did too.
Yeah, and at the end you're like, I crushed it.
Never.
And she's like, I'm done.
It's the people talking.
Yeah.
So if they talk bad about her,
because they're giving her shit.
It's the same with Seen It. Seen It, they always do that too. They're like, oh, hey, blue team, you're kicking ass. And then she's like, shut up. Why did you talk good about me? I'm like, because you suck.
Because you suck.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Don't say that.
Out loud.
Dead Rising 2 was free with gold for the second half of August. from Capcom, of course. I'm having a hard time getting back into it.
Are you?
I started over because there was no way I was going to remember where I was.
Right.
Because I was at like at the end of day 2, and there's like a 3-day thing.
If I ever
And so
unwrap
I'm
my
like,
copy of my disc that's sitting up there on the
you
shelf,
could play co-op.
I'm not going to remember either.
Well, then we can start from the beginning. I wish we could do
Together.
all 3. Because
That
you got
would
it,
be awesome.
you downloaded
Oh
it,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
oh yeah. When
That's
I
what I
saw
thought.
that, it was like Christmas at my house. Like, running around
I
the
still had
house
the
all-
save file from Case 0, so I still imported that and
Nice.
jumped to level 5. But it's ponderously slow at the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I forgot how slow Capcom games can be.
Did you remember how awesome it's going to be when Dead Rising 3 allows you to turn off the clock?
Whoa.
And you can just run around and do
No,
whatever?
that's the good thing.
That's your motivator?
That makes me keep going.
Yeah. I gotcha.
See, and I forgot about the whole clock idea too. Because when I started playing, my guy started holding a bear in a bathroom. Well, you're always going to be in a bathroom,
Right.
But
Always.
I didn't recognize the bathroom because it
Yeah.
wasn't the one at the safe house or it wasn't the one at the mall. So I
Yeah.
was like, oh crap. So I walk out there and I set the bear down, and start killing zombies.
Mm-hmm.
And then I make it to where I'm going because the arrow's still up there because I had already set the quest. And I make it to the room and I'm like, that's why I need that
You were
fucking
grabbing the bear. That was your quest.
I was like, son of a bitch. I was saving it to have the bear.
You had to
take it to the...
Give the gift
Yeah.
to the kid.
That's funny.
Well, no, it was a different... It was the... I had a machine gun on him. It's
Oh.
like a...
It's a sentry
Oh,
bear.
Yeah, it's a
gotcha,
sentry gun,
okay.
yeah. So, like, I make it to the end, like, go through all these zombies to where the arrow is, and I was like, that's why I need that fucking bear.
Dumbass.
Yeah.
Sean.
Plus, that game is 3 years old,
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
right?
It's
Mhm.
crazy.
Unsurprisingly, no one was online playing Terror is Reality.
I got in about... every
Did you?
every time that I've played Terror is Reality, I've gotten in.
I couldn't find anybody because I was trying to.
I love Smash
I was
the
like,
Ball.
I was like, this might be a slow way for me to get back into figuring out controls
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah.
jazz. But nope,
It's a good way to buy Zombrex.
nobody there.
Is
do you,
what that
do you
ga-
need
what
all
the-
4 players?
Yeah.
Oh,
To start
shit.
it, and that's the worst part too, is because you'll get into a game and like you'll have the 3, and everybody will say ready, and then a 4th will pop up, and you get all excited, and then and it's the
Then he
same kind.
drops out.
It's the same kind where if people are losing, they drop out, and it screws you over.
Nice.
So,
Classy.
that's the one downside
Yeah.
to that, but in having to listen to what TK talk at the very beginning, you can skip it.
I forgot how racist the game is too.
Oh, yeah. It's yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
What, stereotypical
Oh, very
stuff?
much so. Yeah.
And I forgot those stupid ladies who hate you for no reason at the beginning.
Yeah.
The showgirls with the reality show.
Yeah.
And so then
I
they,
don't remember
they just
anything about
emasculate you for no good reason. I'm like, what the fuck did I do to you? Jesus Christ. They're like actively hostile towards you. I forgot.
Okay.
I'm like, this is so weird. This game is so weird.
It's normal. That's my natural
It's
reaction that
Capcom,
I
yeah.
get.
It's
so.
totally Capcom. Yeah, because yeah. I'm having a fun time with it. I'm at day 3.
Okay.
I might start over again
I don't remember where I stopped in my original game, so.
because
Yeah.
all I know is I got like 30 hours before the government shows up or something like that. So
That's
a
not
day.
day 3 then.
Well, it's like it's at the end of day 4. It's still day 3.
No, there's 3 days period.
Well, why does it say day 3 then?
You're at the beginning, I guess.
It must be.
Your timer is off.
Oh, I broke the game.
You broke
Sweet.
it. You win.
I can go and do whatever
Is
I
it
want.
flashing 12?
No.
To watch
no.
flashing 12.
Uh-uh.
Tell us about the Bureau.
Speaking of breaking games, let's talk about the Bureau XCOM Declassified from 2K.
I kind of want to play this game.
You kind of want to play it because you haven't played it. Okay, so we loved Enemy Unknown, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And so I was really...
Which is going to get some DLC coming up, by the way.
That's awesome.
Enemy Inside. It's like 40 maps and stuff.
Nice. I haven't played that in a while.
Mech troopers and...
So here's the thing.
Anyway.
There were so many elements about Enemy Unknown that I loved.
Yeah.
Like, I loved that play style. So I knew
turn-based
you're
stuff,
going to
yeah.
obviously get something different going
Right.
into this where it's a third-person shooter. And you made the joke last episode about the mass
I think I
com.
stole the joke, to be
You probably
perfectly
did.
honest.
But you made it to my face.
Yes.
And so the Masscom, and I was like, oh man, come on, I want to be excited about it. It is totally Masscom. So whoever
I
made
ruined
that
it for you.
assumption played, obviously that was from a preview because they knew what the fuck they were talking about. Because I can't think of a more way. Okay, so you play Enemy Unknown, and everything is so compact
Right.
and really convenient and really well done. and easy, and you can move around and do stuff, and there's a lot of stuff going on, and there's a learning curve, but it's all right there in front of your face.
Right.
And so imagine...
And you can take a little time because it's turn-based.
Exactly.
So you can kind of weigh options.
So imagine taking that kind of gameplay experience and spreading it out as far as you can and making things as obtuse and complicated to get in between as possible.
Oh, no.
And that's what you're running into with the Bureau.
Yeah.
Because you set
drop
up...
ship like a hand crank and you have to do it in
essentially,
real time.
you set up your teams, right? So your squads.
Yeah.
Because it is a third-person shooter, so when you go on to these little missions...
It's almost a little real-time strategy.
A little bit like that, yeah. It's very Mass Effect in the way that you would have your wheel and instruct your teammates to do whatever, or they could just go on their own.
Do they do a lot on their own, though?
They don't do anything very good, but sometimes I just don't want to deal with them, so I just let them do whatever they want to do.
Like, there's two play styles. Like, either you're spending a lot of time sort of managing your other dudes, or you're just shooting things and keeping them back so they don't die.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So and I'll have them do their powers once in a while because they have a couple things that are bonus. Because you have a wheel that you choose from. You have two squad mates that you go out with. It's a team of 3. It's yourself and 2 people. So you pick those teammates, and they can be of those different classes, like a gunner, engineer, a sniper, engineer, and something else, like a support guy.
Right.
And they level up as you get experience points as they make kills, and they unlock other abilities, much like Enemy Unknown. However, this is where like the disconnect, and I don't really know the right order to put this all in, but there's so much disconnect that happens in the game where. It's so weird because they have these gameplay elements thrown into the game like they were in Enemy Unknown.
Right.
And I know it's different people associated with the game. So, so you're going to have a different style and a different take on it. But they're obviously borrowing that success or, that resurgence
a lot of that stuff
with that game.
Yeah, it came from the original game.
Exactly. So, and don't let me skip over the fact that this whole storyline is like giving me some kind of idea that they're going to give me something that like leading up to the game that I had just played.
It's technically a prequel for
technically because it takes place in 1960 around that time frame, and Enemy Unknown was in a slight like future kind of date. But you're experiencing everything and finding everything for the first time. But you're also experiencing and finding everything for the first time in Enemy Unknown.
Yes.
So what happened for 40 years?
It's secret.
50 years.
It's buried. They put it in that warehouse with the indie relic.
Because I remember playing Enemy Unknown and we find lasers and they're like, we can use this. We're going to develop technology from these lasers. And I'm like, I just found fucking 10 lasers laying on the ground in Declassified or in this Declassified. So I don't know where happened to those lasers in the last maybe at the end of the game everything gets in a big sinkhole. Yeah. And it starts over.
Different administration.
They shut it down.
So that was frustrating gameplay-wise. And I know I've gone on like 10 tangents here, but...
No, it's good.
So in the game, when you level up, you get your new perks that you can like purchase, and there are different abilities, or like able to throw out turrets, do like a shield.
Does he do drinking more?
No. That's not
because isn't that like part of his backstory? That
he's like a drunk.
Yeah, he's a drunk
something like that.
FBI guy.
Something like that. Yeah, there's stuff all over you can read about him, and I think that was one of the things talking about him being a drunk or something. But so you get the things, and as you get your new abilities, you get them immediately. So now you're getting them in play because in Enemy Unknown you couldn't do it until they came back and everything got resolved, and would do all your stuff.
You would go back and you would train. So it was that sense that you had to learn it,
right? Because that made sense. Because there was in that game there was a line of thinking and gameplay that was like it was actual real time.
Right.
You had to train these guys. Right. They had to do their stuff.
You had to wait days for things to happen.
You had to wait things. This is all more instantaneous game, but it breaks down that wall of what made that shit cool.
Yeah.
And part of that experience was awesome because it was such a balance of this is actually a real thing. It had like real world weight to it. Mm-hmm. Now it's like here's instantly you get this, and they pop up a little if it's a new ability or a new thing you can do. They pop up a little Bioshock type old new propaganda newsreel thing where it explains how to do your thing. Like the agent can now do this and force them back, and then you go back to gameplay. And now you can do it.
The battle.
Yeah, and now you can do it. And I'm like, that is
disruptive.
That's exactly how the entire game is.
Yeah.
So. You also have to kind of, and like I said, you can choose the wheel or you can choose not to. So sometimes I'll just let them do whatever and I'll take out people.
Right.
And then I'll remember, okay, or a lot of times what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll have my sniper do his critical shot so he can take out one big guy first.
Right.
And then I can, target somebody else. And my other guy's a support guy. He can throw out combat stims and help it, up everybody's abilities. He has a shield he can throw out. So sometimes, and you can stack these.
Yeah.
So you can do that. And
people can team stuff up, right?
Right. And what happens is, it doesn't pause the action, which I believe in Mass Effect it pauses the action.
It slows it down to like 1/10.
It slows it down, so it's more like Fallout 3 style.
Yeah.
Where the VAT system.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes into slow motion. It gives you enough. Once you get used to it, it's enough time to go around and do it. But yeah, I would have the ability. So it's kind of cool when you get everything flowing.
Yeah.
And so it's rough at the beginning, but I had a lot of fun once I started getting used to it.
Good.
That part of the gameplay is fun.
Good.
So I have ability that I can fling people up into the air, like float them up. Fling poo. I can float people in the air, so I'll hit that, and then I'll do the critical hit on the guy.
Yeah.
And then I'll have the other guy take down the guy's shields.
Right.
So I do those all at once, and what happens is we go back into action. My guy floats the guy up, the guy hits him with that thing, and the other guy hits him with the thing that lowers his armor or whatever. Yeah. And then everybody's shooting this guy that's floating in the air.
Right.
And so that's really smooth when it happens, but a lot of times I just don't want to deal with it, and I'm like, do your things, and then I forget about it, and I get just busy shooting everybody myself.
Right.
And then that kind of breaks it down,
Yeah.
But you do also, they carry over the stuff where your agents can die.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in the mission and your agents can die. They get downed, they bleed out, and you can go save them or revive them, which, if you remember in Enemy Unknown, you had a limited amount of uses of that.
Right, because
this is unlimited.
Yeah.
You can just do whatever.
Well, I heard that actually if they die, then they immediately send a new fresh recruit at level 1 into the mission.
Do they?
I think so.
Well, it might depend on your difficulty level.
It might be
because
I thought I read that in the review, and I'm like, that's kind of weird because
there's different difficulty levels that change that stuff.
And you're all like, I'm playing hardcore
because in the mission you can get to this weapons crate that you can change out your loadout. You can change out your squad mates.
Yeah.
You can do everything from this weapon crate because apparently they're all laying in it.
Alien technology, man.
It's just another thing where it breaks down everything.
Yes,
exactly.
Precisely.
Yep. So
they're miniature.
But I think in some of
it's a trunk of holding
on one of the difficulty levels,
maybe the nerdiest thing I've ever heard you say. That was awesome.
Hey. On one of the difficulty levels, they can bleed out but never die. They just go back to you can revive them back at headquarters. But anything above the second one up or whatever, I think that they die if they bleed out. But if they die and they bleed out, they're dead forever, right?
Yeah.
Here's the problem with that. Let's say both your guys die and they're dead and they're gone. And so it's just you taking on everybody, right? You're in Enemy Unknown, you always had a team where everybody could die, you could fail the mission.
Yeah.
And now everybody's dead.
Right.
In this kind of game, you can't die. If you die, you restart from your checkpoint.
Oh, sure.
Because they need the main character, right?
Because you have to keep going. Yeah, exactly.
So you could have...
in Enemy Unknown, you could have everybody wiped out, and you just trundle back home, head in shame.
Go get a bunch of new people, because all those fucking dudes died.
Way to go.
But now you're playing a main character, one character who always has to be alive.
Right.
So you can have two guys die and survive the mission, and you lost those two members.
Right.
However, if those two guys die... and you get killed,
then you
restart at a checkpoint, and you have 3 people again.
Yeah.
So there's no reward. It's almost more punishing to fight through and be successful.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it kind of undercuts its own weight.
Yeah, exactly. It
gravitas.
really means nothing. So the death of the of agents means nothing, in my opinion, because
that's too bad.
And also, I haven't been in a situation where if those guys get downed and killed, I'm not going to get downed and killed.
Yeah.
Because if they're getting overwhelmed, I'm obviously going to get taken out too.
Yeah.
Because now I have no more support either.
Right.
So it's ultimately anytime I had a guy die, I'm like, I might as well just reload the checkpoint because we're all going to die.
Yeah.
And then they're all going to come back anyway, so why bother with it now?
Yeah.
So while it's fun sometimes to play through and do those things, there's so many aspects of the core gameplay that have been implemented that are stripped away or have no meaning, but they want them to still have meaning.
Right.
And it's even going around the base, like I said, before you had that cutout base and you could go around to the different rooms and do things.
Yeah.
This is... you set up your team in one specific spot, so you always have to go there to do it, which means you have to walk through the whole headquarters to go to this place to set up your team, and then walk through this place to go to somewhere else and talk to these guys. It's walking around the fucking base all the time for in between 40 to 50 minute missions. you're spending a half hour walking around this base, talking to people, getting information, setting up things at different spots that you have to go to. There's no more like you find new weapons, but there's no that I've experienced. You have like a development department in your headquarters that does nothing that I've seen because
they just automatically do things.
But you get those weapons. I don't think there's any way to build up on them.
Oh, okay.
So the other game was always about like finding these ways to increase abilities on weapons and making them better.
Yeah, make them so that we can use them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's all gone. So you can use everything. There's basic weapons. Then there's the alien weapons, which are just a little bit better and shoot like pulse bullets instead of like they shoot energy instead of bullets.
Right.
And that's really the only difference. You get these different backpacks that's really the only thing I've seen so far that changes equipment wise. And these backpacks just change abilities as far as like now you can shoot further, or you can you do your abilities further, or you can take more damage.
Bust ghosts.
Exactly. You can bust ghosts. That would have been more entertaining. So, there's just all these things that are so disjointed about it, and I did not enjoy it at all. I find the gameplay to be tedious in between those elements. And even when you're going out on missions, it's basically going from, there's no discovery. Because you walk through an area and then get to a big open area with some hide points or some like cover spots, and you're
I heard about this too.
There's going to be aliens.
Yeah.
And that's part of the thing about Enemy Unknown. You walked into an area and you had to kind of creep forward because you know when people were going to fucking bust out.
Or even when you finish the battle and you're like, wounded and limping, and then you're like, fuck, this isn't over. There's somebody else still out there, and
I gotta go find them.
Yeah, that's when it becomes extra terrifying because it's like, I survived this, but if they get a drop on me, I don't know what's going to happen.
It's just so disjointed, the whole like experience.
It sounds to me like they had a vision for a game, and then people got worried that, well, if we leave this out, then people are going to say this isn't XCOM, so we have to put this in there.
Sure.
Or, this other thing.
It's
and all
weird.
This.
And the voice acting is okay with some of the people. Some of the people it's not. Like,
sure.
And there's no matchup with the dialogue and everybody's voice act, like the animations.
Oh.
They all look like they're just like moving their mouth up and down. And like it doesn't, it's not lip synced at all. It's terrible looking. And some of the people aren't good, like voice acting. Some of it's okay.
Yeah. And admittedly,
some of it's
that's
pretty
kind
stiff.
of how the mouths move in Saints Row 4 too.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't move.
I was going to say that some of it's pretty stiff, but then I was just thinking about the fact that it's also the 60s.
Yeah.
So it's very like that though too, where it's like everybody talk like that.
Yeah.
So it might be more of a system of a symptom of the time and not necessarily the ability of those voice actors. But I will say that also there's a lot of talking. Yeah. It is very Mass Effect in that way of having dialogues and conversations with people. No, because I almost fall asleep like every time.
Yeah.
And they go into like little dialogue trees where you can ask them more questions and they keep talking.
No.
And it gives me this sense of importance, but they're like, in the cutscenes, they're like, talk to everybody because it might give you stuff. It might unlock things. I've had it maybe happen once, and I've talked to like hundreds of people, it feels like. So there's a false sense of importance, I think, to a lot of the information that's getting thrown out there. And I think they're like dangling a carrot that's only there like half of the time, if that's even. Bad.
One of my biggest pet peeves about games is when they have like a headquarters that you have to wander around through to find people to talk to.
You're gonna hate this game. Well, don't play it.
No, it happens almost in every game you play.
I know, but this is the worst.
Which it's like, oh, this is our headquarters. This is our base. Now go talk to this person, and you're like. Then they're wearing like the same color of what's like the background. So if they're like sitting there. You're like, you walk past them like 4 different times because you're like, I just want to get to this mission. And then you talk to them and they're like, oh, we'll go to the mission hub. I'm like, dude, I was just fucking there.
Dude, this is exactly what it is. Except it's even more confusing because the place is stupid set up and you can't find where anything's at.
Yeah.
And there's no map.
See.
You can like hit the like the directional pad and it'll show you your target. Yeah. But it shows you through walls. So you'll see an arrow which is over here, but it's as the crow flies. So it's like drawing a straight line from you to that arrow, but there's tons of walls and paths.
Juggernaut through the walls, man.
I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
That's what I found out about.
I should have done.
They discovered that back then too, but then we rediscovered it.
Rediscovered it. In Dead Rising, I'm like, it said find Katie, and I'm like, well, shit, maybe I have to find her, and I wasn't paying attention. It was a long time.
You weren't paying attention to that giant arrow over.
Well, no, but it didn't. It just that was one of my that was one of my lists of things to do. You know how find Katie, give her. It's always up there. It's always up there. So I'm thinking find Katie. So I went back to the safe house. And I go to the infirmary thinking that's where Katie would be. And I'm like, shit, she's not there. She's in that other room. And then it all came flashing. I'm like, in that game, there's so many rooms with so many survivors. If you save them,
Yeah,
that
if you
is.
save 'em, yeah.
There might be just empty rooms.
That's right.
But it's weird how they do that in games where they like bring you to a place, because it happened in Saints Row 4 as well, where they give you a spot, and then they give you an option to talk to somebody, and you got to find them. It's like,
it's to bloat out the
Why-
gameplay, Sean.
why can't everybody? Well, then have you run into like a monster while you're on the. Have some
Do
gameplay.
something?
Yeah, have something happen story wise in the meantime.
I hear you. So
Stop
anyway,
to get a soda.
so the Bureau, I find it tedious. I find it to implement things that don't make any sense in this kind of gameplay.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of having them in there. So play Enemy Unknown. It's much more fun and much smarter.
Yep.
And
And they got DLC coming.
I'm only about halfway
Next
through
year,
this
I think.
game, so unless something changes, I'll let you know next time.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try to stick it out, but we'll see.
Do it.
All right.
You can do it.
I liked XCOM.
Me too. Enemy Unknown.
I had fun with that
Yeah,
game.
it's awesome. So well done. All right, Saints Row
Saints Row 4.
4. We can finally talk about it.
From
We can.
Volition.
Yes. And Deep Silver,
Deep Silver.
who picked up the Volition.
Yes.
Thank you, Deep Silver. Who we also got
Especially because we have a decent relationship with Deep
Yes,
Silver.
who else we got a review copy from,
Yes.
which we've had,
We played the review copy. Yeah.
which we typically don't get very often on a lot of games, but we got it way early.
Way early,
Oh,
yeah.
right.
So I haven't
Time-wise,
played it
yeah.
for
I think
like 2
everybody
weeks.
was, because I think
Yeah.
they wanted to make sure everybody kind of had a
Got
chance
through
to
it.
dig into it, and yeah.
Which we appreciate because there's 3 of us and we like to have conversations between everybody.
That's right.
So
Yep.
that time frame allows us to all play it,
Yes.
which we all did.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us more than others. How far did you get, Craig? Did you play a bunch?
I've played a bunch.
Yeah. Okay, good.
It's I got it.
I didn't know
on-
how much time you
I
had,
got it
so-
on Wednesday, I think,
Okay.
and so I've put in like 9 hours or
cool.
something like that.
So probably about halfway.
like 30%.
The other percent goes quicker.
yeah,
I think.
Although I'm 50% for desynchronizing the place. So.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's just story progression.
Yeah.
So much different gameplay for Saints Row 4 than 3 or the previous iterations. You played a lot more 3 than I did, Sean. I played a little bit of 3.
They really upped the ante in this one. But or copied a game in particular.
A couple games.
Yeah. This game really copied a lot of games. It broke every
Genres.
So many genres get
The
brought
Matrix.
up into this game. Movie wise, it's
Mass Effect.
Movie wise, it's out of control.
Yeah.
Game wise, they from the way that it changes in just gameplay, just to like them talking about the game
Yeah.
as it's going on.
The fourth wall stuff being broken.
Well, yeah,
Everybody.
a lot to do with the main enemy and him and your conversation with your character,
Yeah.
the president of the United States.
So it starts as a normal Saints Row game.
Okay, so let me just say one thing I
Yes.
love. It wastes no fucking time getting to the premise.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
This first 15 minutes. Okay, so
Yeah.
explain to us the first 15 minutes
So
of
it
the game.
starts
essentially.
very Saints Row 3, or the previous iterations,
Yes.
where you're on this crazy ass mission doing stuff with the Saints and
Yeah.
trying to
stopping
stop terrorists.
stopping a nuclear bomb
From-
missile.
Yeah.
Kick in an awesome Aerosmith song, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
You save everybody. Then they jump ahead like 5 years, and you're now the president
Yeah.
of the United States. Saints are all over the White House.
That lasts about 2 minutes.
And then, you're making a walkthrough.
Well, I guess you do get to defend the White House, which is pretty badass as well.
Yeah, you're making a walk through the White House.
Yeah.
You're now the president. I made my guy totally like 80s out, so he was all super buff, had this bleach blonde mullet,
Oh,
and then a really
nice.
dark, heavy Chuck
Oh,
Norris
right.
beard.
Your bullet. Yeah.
Exactly. So he was totally
Wow.
80s out. That's exactly. And I picked the Nolan North voice. I don't know. Did everybody pick the Nolan
No,
North
I
voice?
did a female character, so I ended up with a French accent.
I did a female character, and I ended up with I can't think of her name from Archer. I don't like her as an actress, but I love her as a voice actress.
Who?
I can't think of her name. She's an Archer.
She's
the-
hosting. Whose line is it anyway? No.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Is it not that one?
I can't
my
think of her
God.
Anyway.
name. But she was
Anyway,
Yeah.
I chose a pre-made. One of the pre-made presidents,
Okay,
the one
okay.
with the big pompadour.
I can't imagine playing
So
this
she's
game.
pretty awesome.
I'll tell you what.
mine would look like She-Hulk. So
After
Because I
playing-
went in the customization and I'm like, fuck this.
fuck yes.
That's why you
it's-
should have checked out the.
It's gonna be like
download.
It's gonna
thing.
be it's gonna be like
inauguration
I was like,
thing? Yeah.
I'm gonna be recording before I'm done creating a character. God damn it.
That's why you had to do the inauguration thing.
But there's still plastic.
was smart.
There's the plastic surgery places, so
Oh,
I can alter my character later if I
Yeah,
want to.
that's
true.
including changing gender.
yeah.
After playing 21 hours
And
or
voice.
whatever, 25 hours, whatever I put into the game. After playing all of that through, I can't imagine playing anybody but Nolan North voice.
Really?
That's crazy to me to think that they have those different voice options and you can play it through. Like, that still blows my mind.
Yeah.
Because that's so the game for me. Was that voice the entire time.
Yeah.
So it's nuts. But anyway, so you walk through the hallway of the White House. You decide if you want to cure cancer or what was the other choice?
End hunger.
End hunger.
Yeah.
I saved cancer.
I did hunger.
You saved cancer?
Well,
Saved cancer.
cure cancer.
Cure cancer.
That's what it was.
He split the difference.
Let me see. Save the hunger.
Feed the
hungry.
cancer.
I will feed the cancer. I made a huge mistake. Sir, you signed it. We have the document. You told us to feed cancer.
Darn it.
Well,
Feed it.
spin this.
Spin this. You get to the end of your hall. You get to your Oval Office, and about then there's an alien attack.
Yeah.
Everybody gets abducted.
About then, yeah.
No,
They're stealing the best and the brightest.
That's correct. The best people, the best examples.
Because I'm eager to see what's going on with the rest of this stuff.
So, and then that's where the game opens up, where you're in this virtual reality version of Steelport, and you're basically running around in this computer program or
in the 50s.
generated.
And this is like the first 15, 20 minutes.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. I forgot they do the 50s
And
thing
it's
first.
in the 50s.
Because you got to get woken. Yeah, sorry. You get woken out of that. It's very Matrixy
Felt
in
like
that
I was
way.
like playing Mafia all of a sudden.
because they go very Matrix, where you get woken up and pulled out of
Right.
this thing, and
Yeah.
then you have to basically go save your
Yeah.
other people. So there's. Hopefully that's not a spoiler, but that's pretty much the first half hour of the game.
Yeah,
there's
it's
more
very
hours from
early.
that.
It's
so,
very early in the game.
that sets up the whole world of your virtual reality,
Right.
which allows for them to have the superpowers and everything else that you can
Yeah.
use in the game.
Because you're basically glitching things.
Yes.
And so I don't know what people are expecting me to say about this game.
I don't know what you're going to say about this game.
But Volition has found, yet again,
Yes.
a very magical combination so none of my usual open world issues come up.
Yeah.
Because the core concept itself, which is that you're in this simulation, and basically if you're going to break everybody out and get revenge on these aliens and stuff, you have to fucking bust the simulation. And
Yep.
the way you do that is you bust the system by basically cheating as much as you can and causing as much havoc as you can.
Yep.
So the core concept of the game inspires all that stuff that people love open world games for.
Yeah.
Just going around and doing whatever the hell you want. So causing mayhem is adding, is technically overloading the simulation. So even though I'm not genuinely moving the story forward, when I just fucking around and I'm blowing shit up,
Right.
I feel like this is something I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm putting the main story on hold like it would with like Grand Theft Auto 4, where it's
Right.
like, oh, I gotta find this guy. Let me go on a date first.
Yeah.
Or I gotta go out bowling.
You're just whittling pieces of this off while you're doing other stuff.
Exactly. And so, everything feels like it's contributing to the goal, even if it's not maybe adding percentage points to my completion for the game or something. And dicking around and mission completion are not completely separate
Yeah.
from each other. Because, there's all those little things that you can find on your mini-map to do.
Yeah.
Some of them are activities. Some of them are just unlocking stores and all that jazz. And let me give you an example here. So I was doing side missions, and I just started doing the side missions for Kinsey. And the thing is that with the game, because I was having fun with basically every type of mission that I could do.
Right.
What I would do is I would, look at my next point, and it was clear across the city, and I'm like, awesome. Because what I would do is I would kind of hopscotch around from every sort of thing to do along the way, and just kind of, experience that. So I was knocking.
They
out-
also make it easy when you can jump like 8 buildings,
that I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna get to that
Yeah.
in just a second. But
Crackdown style.
it's so I had been completing a lot of that stuff. So this is unfortunately Sean's little pet peeve, because you had to go back to the ship.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was extra hard for me because I only had one gateway, so I always
Yeah.
have to go clear across the city to get back to the gateway.
Yes.
But anyway, so the first thing for Kinsey's missions was go to the ship and talk to Kinsey. So I go over to the gateway, go into the ship, go downstairs, talk to her.
Flirt with her or talk to her.
That's right, the Mass Effect parody. there.
Yes.
And
Which is funny.
For all
yes,
of them.
it is funny. And it's not just one mission. It's going to be like this series of missions that have you do things. And then eventually, when you finish it, then you'll have to come back and talk to her, and then she'll unlock something. So I do that, and it's doing all the checking off the objective complete, and then you know, saying new objective, and then meanwhile I'm walking back up to get back in the simulation. I get back up to where the simulation is, and then it flashes across the screen, talk to Kinsey, and then like my point goes back downstairs, and I'm like, is this a fucking glitch? And so I open up my mission menu, and there's the list of missions, and they're all checked off except for the last one, which is to go collect my shit. And I realized I did all that shit already.
Yeah.
See, I will say that's part of the. I didn't want to jump to this until later, but I'll fit it in now. No, that's fine. That was one of the things I had as a concern about the game.
Really?
I felt that it was kind of broken, or it allowed you to break it, not in the way that they want, like the story is saying, you know, your goal is to break this. But I ran around and did a ton of stuff, like side mission at the beginning, because I just went kind of crazy.
Right.
I went around collecting all those clusters. I crackdowned it up. And so when I'd run into those new things you could do, and I would do a bunch of those. And so I put off a lot of the main story missions while I was just doing stuff around town. Yeah. And so when I did that, when I would go talk to people and do the story missions, they would give me my missions, and I'd be pretty much done with almost all of them, if all of them. So I would just stand there, and I would basically, I think there was one person that had like 3 separate missions that I was able to talk to him, get the mission, turn it back in, like 3 in a row. Because I had done everything that they wanted you to do already.
It does kind of ruin the sense of the world that they have there. But at the same time, you know, I wouldn't want them to make me do it's. You know, it's not Red Dead Redemption. Go pick those flowers again.
Yeah, exactly.
I do want to.
Exactly.
And I do want to say that I like that they incorporate those things into the gameplay.
It was like a reward for dicking around and having fun playing the game my own way.
But I also like that that's like what the mission was, to have you go do those things instead of those things being just an extra thing that you could not worry about, because they did build it into
it incorporates
exactly. It was a good incorporation. I just wish that I think I would have realized it sooner. Because and then I would have done like the mission stuff then instead of having it, because it kind of felt broken when I would do it and be like, oh, I guess I already did all that stuff. So I guess we're done here.
I can get that sense, but at the same time I'm like, sweets, because it was like a reward, like here's an unlock for doing all that stuff that you were doing just for fun.
Well, I also will say that it felt like maybe a little broken as far as that. By doing those things, I was getting more experience points, and I was getting more of those clusters. And my abilities and powers were getting so much more increased that by the time I got to the actual things I had to do story missions,
you were like
I was like a fucking god.
I'm kind of at that
so
point
they're like,
already.
Go take this guy out, and I'm like, 2 shots, done.
Well, it doesn't help you when when you first get into that world and you see that first cluster, and if you played Crackdown, then automatically, next thing you know, you're hooked. And
although these are a lot easier to find.
Well, no, I like how they're brighter. Crackdown had the nice little glowy line that would come up, and sometimes you wouldn't see the spire from far away. But these is like the minute you got to the top of a tall building and you looked, it was like, oh, well, that's what I'm doing for the next.
Exactly.
And that's what I would do, and I'd get bigger and bigger. And I'm like, I better go see what's going on
because I'm huge.
I was like, and then the fact that. You know, when you start to be able to run faster than you could drive, and
well, I was going to say this was another thing that is an open world problem for me usually, is getting around. I bitched incessantly, I'm sure, to many people about Grand Theft Auto 4 and how fucking long it took you to get around town and all that, unless you wanted to spend money on a taxi, in which case why have it be open world if you're just flashing to the place. And actually, a converse reaction would be for Red Dead Redemption, where I loved getting around so much. I actually did less gameplay than I did kind of getting around. But it is so fun to get around in this game. I mean, except for maybe just regular walking before you start getting the cheat codes, essentially. Even driving is pretty slick. I mean,
I didn't mind the driving that much.
It's not really in depth, and it's kind of, I mean, it's not like super precise driving controls, but it's done in a way. The first car I stole, because I needed a car right away, I decided to save it because it was telling me I could save it. I'm like, well, let me fucking try that. And then I went to the first garage, and I'm like, well, let me try this first car that I saved. I've used that car constantly, the Blade, and it is awesome. And I don't feel like I need to be like, I got to search out different cars or anything. You know, there's a ton of customization and all that. But
and I feel like that's another thing where I get kind of a question mark of, once you get those powers, why even use cars?
Sometimes it's fun. Plus, sometimes I hang with my homies a lot. Although it is pretty awesome when I'm like, I'm gonna super speed my way over to that destination, and then they pull up in like a car, and then they hop out because they're like, "You fucking left us behind."
I feel like
the problem
with
that is I punch the car when it pulls up because I was like, "Who the fuck is you?" Oh, shit.
Exactly. You just start attacking everything. That's part of the issue that I had, and I don't mean this. I don't mean it in a totally negative way, but there seems like there's those Saints Row Grand Theft / kind of deals where it's like, you have your gang members, the cars and all those other things, where once I started getting my powers, I didn't find a need for any of that stuff. Now, my gang members would show up automatically at some point in the game. Like, they would just kind of show up when I started doing stuff. But I found really never a need to call them because I could fucking shoot like ice out of my hand. You know what I mean? So, like, I was never in a point where it's like I really could use some backup.
I have been in many times.
I never called in 3 ever.
Okay.
And I knew that was an option.
So
and I tried it a couple times here. I did in the later ones, especially when you was hitting those hot spots.
Yeah,
because I found the hot spots were the worst because I could take care of all the guys at the hot spot, but then all of a sudden when everybody else started showing up from the outside, that's when I would get a little bit upset and I'm gonna call in some help and they die.
I think I was just way too powerful. I think I played it wrong. Like,
I
don't think there's a way to play it wrong, quote unquote, but I think that I played it where I was just like way too powerful for everything I was doing because I would run into those situations and I would just run through everybody.
And when I started upping them up to like carrying dual SMGs and things like that, then I'm like, I might as well call them because they're there. I mean, it's going to help me in the end.
Yeah, I actually found it really helpful. I mean, I may not have always needed it, but I like to have Keith, David, and Kinsey running around with me because. Well, unfortunately, they kept repeating the same phrases a lot of times when they were together. Ooh. I had that. Yeah, anyway. And they're not even simulations. They're the actual people. So, but, it was just nice because I didn't have to worry about turning around and taking care of the guys who were coming up behind me because they would take care of them. And they were doing some cool stuff. Like, they would, take a guy hostage and they were using it as a shield and shooting other people. And it just kind of added to the mayhem and... I found that part fun, actually, just calling them in.
Cool. I do want to say that I like that they also put an emphasis on like causing chaos, but giving you so many options to shut down that chaos instantly if you don't want to deal with it anymore.
Right.
And that's another thing that where like those other games usually don't allow that.
Right.
Like you get so much into a point where you're fucking around and then you're like, well, I'm either going to die and have to restart, or there's no way I'm going to get out of this now.
Yeah.
I'm trapped.
Here you can just fucking run away if you want.
Or you can call. You eventually get a thing where you can call and lower your wanted level thing down instantly. It gets rid of it instantly.
Yeah.
Or you can chase that gold orb.
Chase the gold orb.
And take that down, and everything's gone all the way. So I like that they gave you multiple options to shut it down, like, totally, because there was many times where I'm like, I want to get this going, and it just went fucking crazy. And I'm like, all right, I'm done with this.
Here's something I had a love-hate relationship with, and it kind of ties to that, is that when you go into menus, when you're, like, doing anything that is outside of, like, the full-on gameplay, it's real time. So like if you go into a shop or something, you're still standing there,
and people can shoot you.
And so people can shoot you. And so like my very first shop, because of course I was my wand level was going up the roof, I kept trying to get in there. I'm like, what is going on? Why is this screen flashing? And then I would pop out. I'm like, why do I keep popping out of shopping? And then I realized that they were shooting at me. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat, actually.
I like some of the Volition weapons that made it over, like the disintegrator.
Oh, yeah.
Disintegrator.
The black hole.
I liked the abduction gun. Because I would shoot that, and then I would stand in it and use it to get me in the air, and then I'd fly away.
It felt very Red Faction-y, a couple of those things, which is awesome.
It's definitely nice.
And the dubstep gun, which the dubstep gun is funny, the first 2 times you use it, and then I'm like, well, it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
Well, it does. It kills people pretty quickly.
I mean, it doesn't do any damage, like...
It
not
does.
As far as on the scale that you can with those other weapons.
Yeah.
Functionality compared to other guns,
they
it's
all
not really
die,
the one to
but
choose.
they're walking. They're dancing dead.
Well, yeah, they'll be dead, but they'll still be in the air. You just have to know when the stuff pops out of them to stop shooting them.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like... Nothing feels like a chore for me. Everything feels like it's contributing to my experience because all that mayhem. Also, another thing, I'm shooting the cops. That's usually one of those things that rubs me the wrong way. But they're simulations. I also don't care that much about the pedestrians because they're not real.
I like when you walk by those rifts and they're all fucked up.
All the weird pedestrians.
Or there are a couple of those missions where you wait for waves, and one of the early ones that I did was all the glitched people. I'm like, what the shit is going on
upside
here?
down, and they got the long arms and legs. Yeah, they're fucked
And all
up.
They're
stretched out.
Or there's the ones that are just stiff as a board and they're just kind of floating around.
Yeah.
Those are funny.
They are pretty funny.
Now, on top of that, though, there are legitimate performance issues.
There
with the game.
are. I have that written as the next thing to say. That was a bit of a disappointment. It doesn't run very smoothly on the 360.
And I was hoping when I was playing the game, because it was still a couple weeks before it was out, I was hoping that was something that was going to be fixed, like a patch, day one patch, because I know there was some patch.
There was a day one patch.
There was some patch
like 2
things.
megs, though.
There was some
That's
patched
not promising.
issues. I ran into a couple bugs. The first couple of times after I played it, my first couple of play sessions, every play session from then on, when I started up my game, it was playing the same audio log from Keith David.
Oh, weird.
It would always play that
that's
audio
weird.
log,
bizarre.
so that was stuck there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was one of the things that was a problem that got fixed.
Maybe.
But
I haven't had that.
there was bad, frame rate would drop
It would.
at points.
The animation for carjacking in particular was always a mess.
Bad.
Cameras would crash into.
There's a
things.
stutter step every time it does an autosave. So like every
Yeah, a
time
little
you
bit,
grab one of those clusters,
yeah.
it autosaves after every cluster, and you basically would pause you
Actually,
and then go.
I'm not entirely sure that's still there. That might have been the thing that they
I hope so,
patched.
because that was one of my biggest issues, because that was the most consistent.
I would think that would stick out to me because I'm grabbing a lot of those, and I don't. I could be wrong though.
Okay.
I may have.
It's almost like
I may have
every
blanked it
time
out.
you grab one and it autosaves, it like stutters a second.
I don't know.
And so that was kind of irritating.
It might just be because I'm trying to stick my landing there so
Yeah.
much that I let go of the controls anyway.
So I think
I
it's
don't know.
smart and it's fun and funny that there are legitimate things that aren't bugs, but they're part of the gameplay because of the system
Right.
you're in. But there are some legitimate bugs too, and that
and you
becomes
can
a
easily
problem.
tell. There was one I was doing one of those flashpoints, and
Yeah.
then just all the fucking sudden I'm like 3 miles up in the air, like half a city away, and just I'm like, actually I think I was stuck there hovering for a little while. And then I started falling. I'm like, I guess I'm done with that one. What?
That's awesome.
That was the most bizarre because I cannot tell what the hell caused
That's
it. I did
awesome.
have it crash once.
Yeah,
on
I
me.
had
It
one of that as
froze
well.
on me.
Yep.
Sometimes guards won't be there, like when I'm going to a particular place that I know is going to be guarded, and I'm like, I don't fucking see anybody.
Yeah.
And then I land there, and then they pop in afterwards.
I would always come up on those hot spots really, really slow.
Yeah.
And then, because by that time we've gotten, the hover, and, I mean, that's when I started going to clean house and stuff. So then it was just I would wait, and I would keep dropping a little bit at a time until they would show up, and then I'd let it rain.
Yeah.
And then I'd just come crashing down and call them back up.
You make it rain?
We said
Yes.
the Crackdown thing, but it's not even really Crackdown. It's more even Crackdown Keys of the City. That DLC that they
it's
offered,
definitely,
where you could turn on all the really crazy superpowered
Right,
shit.
right.
That's what it felt like the whole time.
I fucking love running up walls.
See, they went
that's my
the next
favorite.
level with it.
I know.
mean, Crackdown had those things, but the fact that you can essentially fly.
No, it is like a 6-year-old
and-
game.
Yeah. But 2 didn't.
Oh,
I
that's
don't
right.
remember 2 you being able to run up walls.
You
It
run,
was
you
still-
super jump, you glide into a building, you run up the top of the
Yeah.
building, you jump off the top,
You
you glide
glide,
again.
yeah.
The Crackdown superpowers
amazing.
feel conservative in comparison to
Yeah.
this, and so I really like it. Now, the one thing that I wish is that, and maybe you do get it later, I wish there was a way that I could speed up my descent when I do jump, because once you get super jump, it's really hard not to jump super high in the air, and if I'm just trying to do a bunny hop or something.
There's
Yeah.
sort of a way to do it.
There's 2.
So I always wanted just to kind of crash down,
Yeah.
because some also when I'm I'm like, I'm gonna go get that cluster over there, and then I'm gonna glide over, but I'm still half a mile up, and I need to get down there. So instead of just circling around, I wish there was a way that I could just plummet
There is.
to the ground.
Yes.
Okay.
And take
I
out.
figure there might
Yeah.
It's
be.
awesome.
That's part of the problem is I saved all those story missions for the end, so I had hundreds and hundreds of these, I don't know, 600 or whatever cluster points.
Yeah.
And I still had 5 open spots of abilities. I'm like, well, Jesus Christ, when do I get these?
I know.
So I started doing these story missions, and then everything flooded into
I
it.
really just stayed on the main. I wanted to get the
That's
game, I
good.
wanted to get the game done. But that was the thing. I had a long list of side missions that I could have joined, and some of them I should have checked because I probably have done half the stuff that was in there.
Exactly.
But it really it still was. It pulled me in. It was a fun game,
And the story missions are hilarious.
The
Background, I don't know anything. This is the other problem. I didn't play the other Saints Row, so I don't really know anything character-wise, and it seemed like that played a lot on character history.
yeah.
But even not knowing the stuff, it was still funny, and there was still some great interaction.
I think
with
they
stuff.
gave you enough
I
of
did
think
too.
so.
the stuff that was going on. So
Yeah.
it was just
You learn the characters pretty quick.
I loved, there was some single, like the Saints Flow one. I really loved that one. For people that will get to it, that's a fun one. Deplane Boss is another one where they go really crazy with the fact that you're in this virtual world, and the fact that they do that. I mean, there's like junctions.
Into the stuff, yeah.
There's junctions where
There's
you walk up
stuff.
and you're like, there's nothing in there, and it's like all like, you know, it's all the whatever you would call it, the modeling or you know, the inside stuff, but. And they haven't added all the pretty stuff.
I like how with all the genuine performance issues, we're still gushing about it. I think that speaks to the strengths of the game. And while we can, you know, tisk at it for not, you know, actually getting some of those things that they really should have gotten out.
Right.
I have this the cynical part of me is like they encountered a bug and they're like, well, we got all sorts of bugs in the game. We'll just leave that for later, or not at all.
Yeah,
but I hate
doubt
that.
it.
I hate that.
It, but I don't think that's
I don't like that cop. I think that cop out is happening from some people.
Yeah,
like I think that caveat is it's a way for them to swallow it to say, well, it's supposed to all the stuff, so it's not a problem because it's just like that other stuff. Well, it's not though.
It's not because there's a difference between the stuff that is entertaining and the stuff that interferes.
Yeah, stuff that's a joke and stuff that's like actually like your frame rate is like a.
I hope they do
snapshot.
fix it, but regardless of them being there, it's still an enjoyable game.
Yeah, and I like that you haven't played a lot of the story mission stuff yet because that's going to be the best part.
Yeah,
and so I can't wait to hear you talk
do we
about
want to
some
do
of
a
that
private
stuff.
chat about this game.
We might.
Maybe.
I'd like to go some in depth
because there's some stuff that I want to talk about, but I can't talk about it because you need to see it and play it. And
I also want to try out the co-op and do some of the co-op
too.
missions. So
awesome.
I'll do that.
Awesome
for next episode,
and maybe we can squeeze in a private chat sometime.
Hopefully.
Awesome.
Okay, so PC. I'm going to talk about Thomas Was Alone today. Big thanks to Booth Dom who sent me a Steam code for it. He said he had played through twice already, and he got the code as part of a bundle because there's lots of those indie bundles and all that stuff. So you end up with games that you already have and you've already played, and so they're fun to give away. And it's a 2D side-scrolling puzzle platformer. Wherein all the characters are just different colors and different sized and shaped rectangles. And that's it. There's no cutscenes, there's no facial expressions, there's nothing that is not directly controlled by the players that has to deal with this, except for the narration. The narration is done by Stephen Merchant, I believe is what your research revealed for us, because I could not remember it. Done very excellently, and it's sort of a narration.
I love Stephen Merchant.
It's not a direct. You know, it's not direct, like he's doing the dialogue for them. Sometimes there's little bits of dialogue, but a lot of times it's sort of like an omniscient narrator kind of explaining what they're thinking and how they're feeling about
more like
stuff.
Thoughts, yeah.
Yeah, and so, you know, a lot of the personality comes from that, but it also comes from excellent character and game design as well, because, like I said, all the different rectangles are different sizes and different shapes and different colors, and so that adds a little bit of mood to it, you know, and then also they all have slightly different abilities. So they're all going to jump a little bit different. Some can jump higher than others. Some can jump farther away. Some of them have additional abilities. There's James, who walks on the ceiling instead of on the floor. There's Claire, who can float in water and doesn't dissolve, and so is like this floating island that everybody rides on.
Claire.
That everybody rides on.
And then
Claire.
Yes.
It's a fat girl's name.
Hey,
it is a big blue block.
I made a Breakfast Club breakfast already.
Sorry.
That works.
Oh, damn it.
That
no,
works.
it fits in, right?
That worked.
There you go. Synchronicity. There's Laura, who is sort of... She's the only non-vertical rectangle. She's like longer than she is tall, but she works like a trampoline. Well, and so then that...
I knew a girl like that once.
Laura's fun to ride on.
So I was saying this.
I didn't really know a girl like that.
This lends to the personality because
the
personalities that they give them sort of reflect these things. So, for example, Laura, who is terrible at jumping, she can't really get. You can't really. And see, I'm calling them by like she and he.
Right, because they get personalities.
I've imbued this.
It's great.
My wife was watching me as I played, and we kept calling them by their names and all this stuff. Like it was affecting us.
That's fantastic.
And so it's like you can't get that block. Let me be very clinical about it. You can't get that block.
It's better.
She can't jump very well, and so she can't get to areas without assistance. But other characters can essentially use her to get to like super far places because they jump extra high when they're bouncing on her. And so her personality is that she feels like people, she meets these guys and then she's like, oh, they're going to be like everybody else. They're going to use me and then just leave me behind and all this stuff. And I'm like, and that fits so perfectly with it. One of my favorite, the first character you get introduced to is Thomas, and Thomas is basically the average guy. But then the second character is Chris, and so Thomas is like a slightly tall rectangle, not super tall, and he's red. And then Chris is like a perfect square, so he's shorter than Thomas, and he's orange, so he's not nearly as bright as Thomas either. And he can't jump as high either. And so Chris's personality is that he's like really bitter and hates everybody about things, and he's like meets Thomas and he's like, oh, fuck this guy, essentially. And because he has to rely on Thomas, because Thomas can jump over a block, but then but Chris will have to jump on Thomas to get over that block because he needs that extra step, because basically the characters become additional platforms that you use to navigate the and that's where the puzzling aspect
Chris needs
in.
Thomas, but Thomas don't need Chris.
Exactly. And so there's that insecurity there. Right. And it's hilarious because when I play through, like I said, we were calling them by names, but I was imbuing them with personality because it's not too hard to kind of forget that, oh, this character you're going to need to assist through all this stuff. And because there's like John, who is like the super tall yellow rectangle who thinks everybody loves him because he can jump like super mega high. And so I would send him along, and then I'd be like, oh fuck, I need to actually bring him back because somebody has to walk across the top of him and all that. And I would do that, and I would go ahead and I look back and I'm like, oh fuck, I left Chris behind. He's gonna be so pissed about this. Because then I have to bring everybody. All right, everybody come on back, and then they're all standing there waiting for Chris, and then he has to like ceremoniously walk up the top of them.
We all came back for you, Chris.
I can imagine him grumbling at like sort of the spectacle of the whole scene. And so, I mean, it's not just the narration. I think a lot of that does come from. I mean, a lot of it comes from the player's imagination as well. It's not going to be the same for everybody, I'm sure. Well,
it's as much as you want to get sucked in or allow yourself to get sucked into the story that's put into it.
And there's actually
the characterization.
There's character and plot progression. Like it actually builds, and like some of these characters change over time because most, it's kind of fun to do that. And I found myself almost playing them in a little, like trying to move them with a little personality and stuff. The challenge does increase over time. It is largely platforming and kind of figuring out the order to put the platforms in. There were a couple parts where I found the platforming a little frustrating. It was usually when I had one guy, and so basically all I had to do was just kind of jump from squared, platform to platform. And sometimes that could be a little fidgety. It's just because it's one of those platformers where there's a little bit of like a half-second delay after you press the jump before they go, and so and you get to those places where you have to really run to the edge, and so you have to figure out the precise timing. But then if you miss, then you have to reset everything, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. And despite the simple art design, because it's all just blocks and stuff, there's a lot of care put into the art and the animation, and so the squares just don't. The rectangles don't just pop up. They kind of squish, and it looks like they're actually hopping and stuff like that.
And you showed us a little bit before we started the show, and it looked like there was a lot of shadowing and stuff.
There
that
is,
was done too, and
there's some
stuff looked great.
It's subtle, but at the same time, it has a.
I dug all the style choices for it.
Yeah, I mean,
the way everything was set just from the beginning, even when the narration starts, and then your character is part of like the title, essentially.
Yeah.
You mentioned the clinical stuff, and
really cool.
it reminded me of that whole clinical vibe of like Portal.
A little bit,
like all of the way that the not the gameplay, but the objects and the diagrams that they would give you.
Right.
It's very much like playing a version of that diagram that they would give you, where they're really simplistic.
Exactly.
I love that.
Now, some people have been calling it pretentious, kind of like braid and all that stuff. But for me, pretentious, is like when you're trying to be somewhat obtuse because you want. You want to feel superior to somebody else because it's like, oh, this is all this deep thinking. If you don't get it, man.
Right, because you don't spell it out.
Yeah.
From the initial...
And it doesn't spell out everything. But...
Yeah, but when you booted that up, it was already a different feeling. It was more of a clever than...
Yeah, it's very inviting. I think it is actually incredibly open. It doesn't try to do... I mean, the story and plot and the characters are all things that are very common and very easy to relate to. It's not one of those games where you're at the end and you're like... oh, I have to interpret how this goes, and maybe my interpretation, and then the creator's all like, fuck you, I'm not telling you what it's about. You have to figure it out yourself.
Pretentious would be if they didn't have any of the dialogue or anything written in there at all. Like,
that would
if
just
there
be
was,
dull, actually.
Right, but and then at the end, the creator would be like, well, you were supposed to infer that this person uses this person, and that they use it for this, and that'd be the difference. But they're spelling everything out. Well, not everything, but
and there are things that you kind of have to make some leaps to get, but I think the stuff that they do tell you is very inviting. It's very traditional storytelling. I don't think that it's something that's going to throw you off. Now, if you don't care about platformers, that's a different matter entirely because that's all it is.
Yeah.
But if you're worried that, well, it's all minimalistic and, it's about relationships and stuff, because it is about relationships, because to do these puzzles later on, you're controlling like 7 different characters, and you have to get them all to the exit points. And so, it's this nice thing because that the relationships again feel natural because they're part of the gameplay, because you have to make these things cooperate in order to complete your levels.
I think anything that's artistic like that and done in a stylistic choice is going to get that pretentious label just because of the style, and it's even by people that don't even know or don't care.
I know.
Like, I think it's done by stupid people.
But I think this is like
stupid dummies.
For some of them, I'm like, well, okay, I can kind of see what you're saying. But for this one, I really would argue against that moniker.
I agree.
That's it.
It looked awesome. I mean, you said it's on PS3, you think, as well?
It is. I believe it is on PlayStation. It may be on Vita as well. But
I might play it on PS3.
There you go.
I like it a lot.
See? Yeah,
I like it a lot.
I use the keyboard when I play, but
there's
it works
a
really well
lot
with
of
the
PS3
controller.
games that I should play
that
I don't ever get. I don't go
Especially
to their marketplace.
those
Does indie stuff. They got a lot of good stuff on there.
They do.
I need to do it. All right. Well, thank you, Craig.
You're
for
welcome.
bringing more PC.
No
problem. That game would be nice on the indie marketplace.
Just buy PS3. No, it would be great. Yeah, I agree with you. I wish more stuff like that would hit.
I like the look of it a lot. So
awesome.
I'm glad you let us see it.
You're welcome.
Thanks, everybody. Oh, wait, I gotta do everything. Sorry.
No.
Signedinpodcast.com. We're done with the show, though, right?
Yes.
Signedinpodcast.com is our website. Go there for links to us on Facebook. Go there for links to all of our other pseudo radio shows. Go there, which right now it's just 3-Die Block. But but there's some old
All
ones you
of
can
them.
figure out, right?
Yes.
Is
They're
the list still available for people to listen to?
I think so.
If they want to listen to old stuff?
I think so.
There you
I think
go.
I'm still shelling out the $12 a month.
There you go. Big spenders over here. High rollers.
Hey, I'm a teacher.
You are. Professor Stresser.
That's not... Yes.
You can find links to our forums and all of the past episodes of this show as well. And...
Did you forget?
Twitter. That's what it was.
Yes.
I'm on
Squiddle.
Twitter. I'm on Twitter at Signed In Podcast. Craig is on Twitter at
Prof Dresser with an underscore in there. Figure it out.
Figure it out. It's a great mystery. And Sean is on Twitter at
I'm at Shonix.
Shonix. Comments at signedinpodcast.com. You can email us there at any time. I usually answer those. Sometimes. When my mail's working. It wasn't working the other day. But
What was
it's
that?
working
What
now.
was that email that you wanted to talk about online?
I forgot about it again. God damn it. Thank you, Craig.
You're welcome.
You could do that shit off the air.
Sorry.
That'd be great.
Well, you don't mention this stuff off the air.
You know I don't edit. So that's why you're going to do it. I know, because we just start talking. Next episode, I have Splinter Cell Blacklist that I haven't gotten to yet, so I want to check that out. Diablo 3, I think, is coming out in the next couple of weeks. I might give that a run through. We'll see. Some of Arcade's finishing out this next week
TMNT
with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's kind of what I'm holding out
isn't
on.
isn't that like a requirement now for Summer of Arcade to release a Teenage Mutant
Closing
Ninja
out on
Turtles?
TMNT.
Although this is a brand new one,
And I'm glad.
it's not an update.
I'm happy to tell you that there's also a release coming out this next week. Painkiller Hell and Damnation.
Is that just now coming out?
I guess.
Oh wow!
I saw it on the
already
release schedule.
Weird.
The 30th of August. Maybe it's a special edition. So
Oh, it's special.
I still have never
It's a
seen it or gotten to play it, so
1993
hopefully I
edition.
will get to play it.
Oh yeah,
Because
the devil's right there.
I told you I'm going to finish it. Remember?
Yes.
I'm going to play through that whole fucking thing. Is that it? We're done.
Done
It's
Done.
a long one.
Strap in.
at long last.
That's what she said.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Plan B is always fuck everything.
Yeah.